Society and SWA, which aims to further the discussion about how women are represented in our films. 10 young writers will get the opportunity to interact with accomplished mentors from the film industry and learn from them. Our event partner, Ladli, is a media advocacy campaign of Population First that works on enhancing the value of women and girls by sensitizing the media to the gender issues. It aims to build a safe, gender-neutral, and inclusive society where they can ensure that every communication that goes into the public domain is gender sensitive. We have with us Dr. A.L. Sarda and Anuja Gulati from Ladli Initiative. Oh, sorry. Dr. A.L. Sarda is the director of Population First, which runs the Ladli Media Advocacy Initiative to enhance the value of women and girls in society. I would request Dr. Sharda to please come on stage and say a few words.
Sorry. Good evening, and it's so lovely to see so many young people here. And I'm really thrilled that all of you are into communication, writing stories, and making difference. So I'm really, really very happy to see you all. And I say a big thank you to Anjum for making this happen. So the magic of Anjum is you give him an idea, and he will make it happen. So he's the magician. So that's my equation with him. And I really thank all the members of SWA for organizing this very interesting initiative. And we are hoping that based on the experience of this workshop, we will do on a much grander scale in coming years, because we feel it's a very good opportunity for us to interact with young, aspirational, young filmmakers. So we are looking forward to working with you, and I hope to see you, some of you receiving awards at the big functions in the years to come. Okay, and I just want to say one small thing. I was talking to somebody. I haven't seen the movie Kantara, so this is only what that particular person has told me. Said the film is excellent, and it is really, really very good. It deals with a lot of issues. But then she said that I'm very, very disappointed with the way the female protagonist is portrayed. She said that she's educated, she wanted to be a forest guard, and she becomes one, but subsequently there's no role for her except as a romantic interest of the hero, and there is a lot of aggression on the part of the hero when he's courting her, etc., the typical kind of a thing. So when we are introducing any character, female character, into the script, I think we need to really see why we are introducing the character, what is the role of that particular character, particularly a woman in the film, and then try to project women as empowered, as self-confident, and having choice and agency. It should not be that, always the choice is left to the man or her lover and her father or her brother or somebody to protect her honor or something like that. So the whole purpose of this workshop was to rewrite the scripts in a way that shows women in a more positive light. So I'm very excited that 25 entries have come, and out of the 10 people are selected, and you'll be sharing your scripts today. And I'm eagerly looking forward to the changes that you have brought about in the scripts to make them more gender sensitive. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Anuja Gulati. She is a program management specialist working with the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. She has been working on gender issues for the last 30 years. The Ladli initiative is funded by UNFPA and Norwegian Embassy India. I would request Anuja Gulati to please come on the stage and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would really like to begin by congratulating Population First, the Screenwriters Association, and particularly you, Mr. Rajaballi, for this really, really interesting program here today. Thank you so much for curating such a wonderful program. UNFPA, the organization that I represent, we work on addressing three broad areas, and we call them the transformative goals. We believe that no woman should die giving birth. That's one of our key areas, so zero maternal mortality. The other is we work on issues of family planning, so zero unmet need for family planning. And the third one is zero gender-based violence and harmful practices like gender-biased sex selection. So these are the three broad goals that guide our work. And when we talk of gender-based violence, when we talk of harmful practices, where do they come from? They come from discriminatory norms. And we personally believe that media and communication can play a huge role in addressing discriminatory norms. But for being able to do that, we need to be aware of our own biases, I think. Be aware of how is it that we portray women and girls in all our communication. Are we, portraying them, I'm sorry, are we portraying stereotypes? Are we showing men and women in roles that they normally are expected, quote unquote, to do, or are we diversifying their roles? Are we looking at, promoting diversity in what they do? Are we really looking at challenging discriminatory norms through their portrayals, through their representation? I mean, just very, very few small examples. Well, yes, we all talk of how we, show women and girls a size zero, fair. What are we promoting? A discriminatory norm that women have to be, or that is what is, quote unquote, ideal beauty, or, body shaming. That's one. How are women shown? Domesticized, doing household chores. Again, a woman's place is in the house. Again, promoting another norm. But more particularly, when we show an ideal family as a family of, a boy and a girl, children, a boy and a girl, and definitely a boy and a girl, maybe two boys, but never two girls, what are we saying? We are wanting to have small families, but with a particular sex composition, right? And that's what results in gender-biased sex selection. Today, we have only 907 girls being born per 1,000 boys. And that's the sex ratio at birth. And if I were to share data with you, it's really striking. Or, when you show an extended family as always a family where, there is a dada and a dadi, but never a nana and a nani, you're again reinforcing a norm that budhape ka sahara sirf ladka ban sakta hai, or old age support will only be provided by a boy. So how, communication can really show women and girls, men and boys in gender diverse roles, not really go in for stereotyping. I'm really looking forward to the evening today. I don't want to say more than this. So all the very best to all of you. And I hope, like Sharda mentioned, we see you in, receiving awards and in positions where you are able to really be the change makers, to lead work which is gender inclusive, which is socially inclusive. All the very best.
I invite Anjum sir to come on stage and say a few words.
Strong few words. I'm sorry I'm breaching protocol here, but I needed to make a clarification. And thank you very much for being so gracious and generous, Dr. Sharda, as well as Anuja ma'am. But I have to clarify that while I was the first point of contact, because Sharda and I happen to be also close friends, but actually it is the team which took it forward. All I had to do was to lob it at SWA, and people like Satyanshu, I don't know where he is. I hope he's here. He's not here. Okay, fine. Satyanshu and, of course, Persis and Dipanjan, these are the people who actually took it forward. So it is them that we should be thanking.
Thank you to the SWA team.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it's primarily them. So just to clarify. Welcome. We're really delighted that all you people have agreed to come. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
I would like to invite Dr. Anju Kapoor, Principal of UPG College, to say a few words. Thank you.
I don't know. Good evening and welcome everybody. And I'm just as enthralled and amazed to see the energy in this room. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all these In fact, when I walked in, I told my coordinator that I may have to leave at 7:30, but I didn't know we are in store to have so many talented people debate on my favorite topic, and that is always these gender stereotypes that we are dealing with at every level, right from whether it's like she said at home, whether you have this composition of kids, or whether you have gender parity at work, or whether you have any kind of stereotypes. I deal with I'm a psychologist by profession and training, and I do dabble in some kind of writing because that comes very naturally when you're taking notes and you're indulging into the minds of your clients. And you see that a lot of times the education that they background that they come from and their socio-cultural setup, their family, really plays havoc with their thought processes. And I'm continuously excited to deal with how this process can change. And I agree that mass media and communication play a very significant role. Having said that, I think we leave the time more for people to debate and hear from different walks of life. I would just compliment, like all of you to compliment, that when we are talking about so many associations, you mustn't forget the contribution of my UPG students, because it's these young minds who are ideating about stories and characters, and this whole workshop, is for them, by them, and maybe along with all of you, they'll grow some notches by the end of today evening. So that's my sincere hope and request, and let's all have a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Robin Bhatt, President SWA. Please come on the stage and say a few words, sir.
Well, thank you, everyone. And as the president of SWA, I can only say, whenever, if there's such a thing, such initiative has to be taken, we'll be always there to help the students better themselves in writing, improve social network, improve the position of women in society, do everything that should be done by us. We'll do it happy.
Thank you, sir. Now, without any further ado, let's call upon the accomplished writers and directors and hear their perspective on the matter. First of all, our moderator for today is Suhani Kanwar. Suhani is a screenwriter interested in telling stories from a feminist perspective and exploring popular genres through a female gaze. Her latest show is Hotstar's Dil Bekarar, a nostalgic romance based on the novel Those Pricey Thakur Girls. Her work includes the futuristic dystopian drama Leela and the zombie thriller Betal, both on Netflix. The assertive feminist dramedy Lipstick Under My Burqa and the hit erotic horror film Ragini MMS 2, the mention of which never fails to spark a conversation. Sorry. She has also worked for television, which she created and wrote Swim Team Channel V and Siyasat for Epic TV. Welcome, please. Yeah, please. Okay. The next panelist is Aarti Raval. After working with a film production house for 7 years, where she handled creative production, marketing, and film festival licensing responsibility of national award-winning films like Dosar, Faltu, The Last Layer, and Do Duni Char. Aarti participated in FTI's Film Appreciation Program and successfully completed AIB Writers Residency Program, AIB First Draft. She wrote, produced, and directed her short film Silverte that premiered at a New York India Film Festival and won a special mention at the Manhattan Short Film Festival. Her short film Interview was a part of the 2021 Netflix anthology Feels Like Ishq. Her feature films, with leading production houses and independent producers and shows with Netflix, Prime Video, Voot, and Lionsgate, are currently at various stages of the development. Welcome to the panel. Our next panelist is Sadia Iqbal. Sadia Iqbal is an Indian writer-director based in Mumbai. She won the Best Debut Director at the 30th Sao Paulo International Short Film Festival for her critically acclaimed short film Bebak, which won 16 international and 7 Indian state and critics awards. She is one of the lead characters in CBC's Women Beyond Bollywood, a Canadian documentary that talks about Indian women filmmakers who are reshaping the film industry and changing its stereotypes. She's also the lead production designer for the International Emmy nominated India's first original Netflix series, Sacred Games. Her first feature film, produced by a major production house, is currently in pre-production. Welcome to the stage. The next panelist is Yashna Malhotra. Yashna is an award-winning screenwriter and an alumn of UCLA School of Theatre, Film, and Television, where she got a Master's of Fine Arts in Screenwriting. In 2020, BAFTA recognized her writing and invited her to join the prestigious 4-year talent development program. She was recently recognized by Film Independent, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and the Museum of the Moving Image in the US as a finalist for the prestigious Sloan Grand Jury Prize. Yashna writes character-driven dramas and dramedies with the goal of telling stories about South Asians for a global audience, and currently has multiple projects in development with Emmy-nominated producers. Welcome to the stage. And finally, we have Nidhi Visht. Nidhi Visht is an actor, writer, director, and lawyer who was always aspiring big in life. The entertainment industry found its way to her heart when she was practicing law in an intellectual property rights firm. She joined the Viral Fever, TVF, in 2013 and was the lone non-IIT graduate there. It has always been an upward journey for her since. She has acted in Chai Sutta Chronicles, Permanent Roommate, Best Please, Mr. and Mrs. Cubicles, TVF Tripling, Bachelors, Hostel Days. Her film Dream Girl, released in 2019, was a blockbuster success. She has also played a role in the movie Filori and Umrika. Along with writing, Nidhi has also dabbled in directing and worked as a casting director. With experience in many areas, Nidhi Visht is a force to be reckoned with. Welcome to the stage. Let us start the panel discussion.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for elucidating so well why we need this conversation today. All the points you made about violence against women, about female infanticide, they're so important and so valid. But even in the absence of those very dire consequences, I want to say that the reason we need to have better written female characters is because we need women, young women, little girls. We deserve to have women heroes to look up to. We need to know that we can grow up and be the agents of our own destiny, that we can self-actualize, not just be a vehicle for a troubled man to self-actualize. And that is the problem I feel we have with current storytelling a lot of the time. Growing up, I was told, I can't remember how many times, कि हर कामयाब आदमी के पीछे एक औरत का हाथ होता है. तो वो औरत का हाथ मुझे नहीं बनना है, मुझे कामयाब औरत बनना है. A fully recognized, fully realized, fully actualized human person, a woman. How do we do that? Let's talk about that right now. I'm going to ask you to go first, if you don't mind, Aarti, and tell us what you feel about the way women are written, and we'll take it from there.
Hi, everybody.
Hold it close. Hold it close.
Better? Yeah. I want to start with saying that I'm from Mithibai College, and this makes me so happy to come back. It's like homecoming for me. You are an ex-student too? Yeah, I think a lot of us from Mithibai, it's a big population of us in the film industry. And it's amazing when I walked down the steps and I saw the auditorium, because obviously we didn't have this when we were growing up. We had 3 choices: arts, commerce, science. And it's amazing that at such a young age, these are very formative years. And like we were just discussing, that most of our film education happened as hobby, time pass, what you do with friends. It was very difficult to find friends who you could indulge in, even in discussions of cinema, right? Which brings me to this, discussing women specifically and the role of women, to matlab bahut dur ki baat thi. We never got around to doing that till we found our tribe in the film industry. So I think that it's great, everyone starting at 16, 17, 18, 20 now. Speaking of which, it makes me happy that we've come a far, uh, way, I think, from where we started. Which is not to say we didn't have empowered women on screen in the 50s and 60s and all, but I think we went through a really hard time in the 90s, especially when we had to look for heroes on screen. A lot of the entries today, I feel, are from, at least some of them are from films in the 90s. And I think it's good to see how well or not so well the films have aged, the films that we all grew up on. And I think that while there is lots of scope for improvement, we must sometimes pause and appreciate that yes, we have come a little far. And it just gives you enough petrol to keep going, because otherwise it's so hard to keep looking at so much work that remains to be done that it's exhausting. Day and night, you're walking into rooms that are filled with men, trying to convince them why this basic human dignity should be given to a female character. And you're like, why do I still have to do this? It's 2022, it should be easier. In many ways it is, but in many ways it's not. So on those days, I just want to stop, watch some films with great female characters and nahi, we have come thoda aage, it's okay, let's appreciate this and at least use that as fodder to keep going.
Hello. Um, Thank you, SWA, for inviting me here. I'm glad right at the start of this panel there was a conversation about Kantara, because for me, at the point when the female character entered the film, and those who've seen it knows what happens there, it ended. It doesn't matter whether the film is brilliant, has great craft. I mean, majorly we are not telling films to talk about the craft of the film, right? We are telling the film because we have something to say. And if you're going to say that women are going to be dehumanized and it's okay, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that film as brilliant or great or good. It can make 500 crores, it doesn't matter. So Kantara there should have been a conversation which happened with Kabir Singh. When Kabir Singh released, even though it was making numbers and everything, people were calling out the film. Because there's a certain, I think at least in Hindi cinema, you have to be careful of how you're treating women. But the films that these blockbuster films from Tamil cinema and Kannada cinema, Telugu cinema, I don't know why when there's a conversation, even with other men in my office, they're like, हाँ Tamil gaze है, वो Tamil cinema gaze है, थोड़ा problematic है, but उनका craft बहुत अच्छा है. I don't give a shit about craft. I mean, come on, yeah. I mean, women are 50%. You're saying it's okay to walk over an entire gender because the craft is good. What value is the craft if you're dehumanizing an entire gender? So we need to talk about Kantara also. And somehow people are okay with, and now Bollywood is going to be like, acha, let's make big blockbuster film like Kantara. No, please, first let's talk about how obnoxious the male character is. Let's not go beyond that because of the scale of the film, because it's talking about tribal rights in foreign land. No, but tribal rights of men and not tribal rights of women. I mean, so we need to have this conversation beyond the numbers the films are making. That's the... Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's just so nice to be invited here and to have this conversation. I think a few years ago, certainly when I was in college, and I also went to NM College, so this is really nice to be back here. And thank you so much for having me. But it's really heartening to see that this conversation is happening, because I think, up to a few years ago, this was not even a consideration. Clearly, I mean, we've seen it in our cinema. And, like it's been said, I think there were certain stereotypes that the women were just asked to play. Like growing up, I was constantly looking for role models in movies, but they were always servicing the dreams and the aspirations of the male leads. They were there to, look pretty and pretty much like that's it. You had women who, I mean, you also had women who were like the very, the pure, like the mother character, like pure heart, unconditional love. And, I'm not saying the strengths of women were not highlighted, but then these women were kind of unidimensional in that that's all we see. And I don't know anyone who doesn't have a flaw. I don't know any woman who doesn't have a dream. I don't know any woman who, I mean, there's so many different dimensions to women. And I think, I mean, it's lovely to see. I mean, it says that this is a workshop on character work. And I think that's the one area that, I mean, our film industry has come such a long way, technology, and, we have the skills and we have everything to really be a force on a global scale. But I think small things that we can keep in mind to ensure that women are represented fairly and they're made to feel like real people. I mean, I want to see women like myself on screen, like my mother, like the teachers who guided me, like my friends. And, again, to say that women should be represented a certain way, I think in a country like India, like just the gamut of women is so large, right? Like you can't say women and expect them to fit into a certain box. So I think that's what I would love to see personally is just the diversity of women. And this takes me, I'll just like quickly, I hope I'm not taking too long, but it just quickly takes me to this idea of like, in Hollywood, there was this conversation about how South Asians are not represented fairly. And, up until a few years ago, there was only The Simpsons, in which, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but you have Apu from The Simpsons who basically talks like this. And, he perpetuates a lot of stereotypes, which are a little offensive. And the argument was that, oh, you have somebody representing the community and a lot of the traits are actually true. And I think the problem isn't that it's just that, but that he's portraying something extremely untrue. But I think the problem is that it's not portrayed in its true diversity. Like Apu is all we're really seeing. So similarly in cinema, I think we need to see women go beyond the role of like the mother, the teacher, the romantic interest. I think we need to see them embody like a very, three-dimensional, avatar. As you can see, I get very agitated about this, but it's really nice to like be in the presence of all of you and just be having this conversation. So thank you for having me, and I'm sure we'll continue. I'll give it to you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so glad that we have all gathered here. And मतलब मेरे पास ऐसे कुछ टिप्पणी करने के लिए ज़्यादा है नहीं, because I think by far आप लोगों ने pretty much you guys included what the idea is and how, particularly being a woman, you feel about when you look at the screen, the big screen, the kind of characters that there are and how they are portrayed. And मतलब मैं तो क्योंकि एक्टिंग भी करती हूँ तो अक्सर ब्रीफ्स भी वैसे ही आते हैं ना, लाइक आई एम श्योर ये बहुत ही रिलेटेबल चीज़ होगी कि आफ्टर जब वी मेट लाइन से सिर्फ वही 4 एडजेक्टिव्स में बात होती थी कि बबली है और है ना ऐसे ऐसे कोकी बबली और शी इज़ अ सनसिल्क गर्ल, आई डोंट नो व्हाट दैट मीन्स. तो एंड है ना, और लाइक आप जो बोल रहे थे ग्रोइंग अप वाली चीज़ कि एक तो हम लोगों को सिखाया जाता था कि हर सक्सेसफुल आदमी के पीछे एक औरत होती है, और दूसरी चीज़ मतलब मैं तो खैर बचपन से ही रिबेल किस्म की रही हूँ कि हमेशा ये क्यों 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 हमेशा पूछने वाली. तो दूसरी चीज़ बोली जाती थी कि आदमी के दिल का रास्ता उसके पेट से होकर गुजरता है. एंड आई वॉज लाइक, आर यू सेइंग कि मुझे खाना बनाना चाहिए सो ओ गॉड, ये कितना लंबा कार्यक्रम है. मतलब मैं सीरियसली उसके लिए क्यों नहीं प्लान कर सकती हूँ, यू नो. एंड यार ग्रोइंग अप ऑल द काइंड ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स दैट वीव सीन, मैं हमेशा वंडर करती थी कि शोले में जो ये गब्बर सिंह हैं, अगर ये फीमेल गब्बर सिंह होते तो ऑफकोर्स जो गांव की प्रॉब्लम है, जो तरीका है वो भी बदलता ऑफकोर्स, और मुझे लगता है डील करने का तरीका भी बदलता. आई ऑल्सो वेरी स्ट्रांगली फील दैट बहुत सारे ये जो वॉर्स जो हम झगड़े पे चले जाते हैं कि जाओ तुम्हें देश की सुरक्षा के लिए बाहर जाना पड़ेगा और लड़ना पड़ेगा. मुझे लगता है अगर विमेन को ये पावर मिलती और अगर महारानियाँ बाहर निकलती वॉर फ्रंट पे, तो शायद इतने लोग मरते भी नहीं और इस तरह के झगड़े होते भी नहीं. वो बहुत जल्दी हो जाता कि बहन ये हम क्या कर रहे हैं, आ जा यार बैठ के बात करते हैं. एंड दैट्स हाउ आई लुक एट इट. सो yes, you are right, there's a long way to go, but at the same time कुछ ऐसे अच्छी चीज़ें होती हैं. तो लाइक आई रियली वुड वांट टू टॉक अबाउट, और मैं हिंदी मूवीज़ के बारे में भी बात करूँगी. ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं हिंदी में बात कर रही हूँ तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं हिंदी फिल्में नहीं देखती, बट I think इस साल Everything Everywhere All at Once is one movie that like really shook me in all ways, like filmmaking कैसे लिखी है, the kind of characters that there are, the conflict इतना mother daughter बहुत ही basic I don't know अगर किसी ने नहीं देखी है तो I think अब तक तो देख ही लेनी चाहिए थी, अगर नहीं देखी है तो I don't know. So yeah, and the way it has been made, जो बातें बोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हाँ, I think we just need to be little braver, more affirmative when we are in the writers room. And जो characterization की बात हम लोग कर रहे थे, अक्सर discussions में ना सबके दिमागों में एक notion होता है कैरेक्टर का, नहीं यार ये ऐसी नहीं होगी, नहीं वो इस तरह के कपड़े नहीं पहनती होगी, नहीं वो ऐसे नहीं चलती होगी. फिर हम बात करने लगते हैं और फिर हम लिखना शुरू करते हैं उस कैरेक्टर को. एंड फिर कहीं स्क्रिप्ट के पेजेस के अंदर कुछ सब टेक्स्ट, कुछ लेयर्स, कुछ इनके साथ हमें एक इंटेंशन समझ में आता है कि मेकर का इंटेंशन क्या है, लिखने वाले का इंटेंशन क्या है. एंड देन व्हेन द एक्टर्स कम्स ऑन बोर्ड, तो वो इस इंटेंशन और इस नोशन को साथ में लेकर एक इवेंचुअलिटी या कुछ एक्चुअली प्रेजेंट करने की कोशिश करता है. तो मुझे लगता है द मोर एंड मोर ये जो हमारे दिमाग का नोशन है कि कानपुर में रहने वाली 18 साल की लड़की क्या करती होगी, आई थिंक थोड़ा हम लोगों को और ऐसे एक्टिवली सवाल पूछने के, राइट क्वेश्चंस पूछने की ज़रूरत है कि कहाँ, क्या, क्यों, कब, कैसे. और हाँ, जस्ट आई थिंक बाकी बात करते हैं और सब.
नो अ लॉट ऑफ वो जो जवाब आ रहे हैं राइटर्स के मन में, हमने भी तो पॉपुलर कल्चर इंजेस्ट किया है, एंड दैट पॉपुलर कल्चर इज लार्जली थ्रू अ मेल गेज. So that's what I want to talk about. That it's not just when all women are written through a male gaze, seen through an outside lens, the women internalize that male gaze, and we start seeing ourselves through that male lens. Which means that if we don't serve a purpose in a man's life, we feel worthless. But we are all writers here, and that's very empowering. And so let's find some solutions as to how we can change this, how we can rewrite this. What can we do differently? Please go ahead.
Since you mentioned writer's room, another thing that has been a little disturbing sometimes is when you get a call for a show, or especially shows, when they're looking for writers, and they're like, and this is like true story, there are 3 writers, we need a woman writer. And it feels like you need a writer. You should not be having a token female writer जिसका pretty much purpose ये होता है कि ये फीमेल राइटर ठीक, ये फीमेल कैरेक्टर ठीक है ना. मैंने कहा
और हाँ ही कहना, मना मत करना.
So I feel that also thinking, I appreciate the take-off point where it comes from, that okay, you try to get a woman to get a woman's perspective, but that cannot be the purpose of the woman in the room. You cannot be getting a woman in the room to just sit and monitor if the women in the show are on the right track.
Because we also understand character, act structure, scene flow, dialogue writing, वो सब भी हमें आता है, not just how women feel and what do you think the girlish feelings are. I agree. I also want to come back to your point, Nidhi, about the manic pixie dream girl, which is what that character is, Karina's character in Jab We Met, and how that trope has affected so much writing, because that character is solely designed for the purpose of making a troubled man, a brooding man, find himself. But we'll go to that one by one. I'm going to ask the students to start and to come up and start presenting. The first student I have on my list is Karina Ramsey.
Hi. Good morning to everybody. Good evening, sorry. I'm a little nervous, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm really glad to be here. And actually, I wanted to talk about my character. I had chosen Isabella Swan from Twilight. Specifically, why I chose her is because I really like the actress, Kristen Stewart. And when I watched her movie and when I saw how she portrayed her character as Isabella Swan, I was honestly disappointed. And mainly because when I had heard that she was playing like a fictional role of a vampire and half human, And I got really excited thinking that she'll portray herself as like a really strong character. But when she played her role as a human being, keeping aside her flawless character as a vampire, her human self was very like she was like a doormat in layman's language. She got dragged around by her male counterparts, and there were two men who kept ordering her around. And she, honestly, all her interests and everything that she loved to do, it dissolved, and her obsession for her future husband kind of exceeded the limit. And honestly, I was very like shocked by that, because her whole life revolved around one single man. She threw away everything, like all of her hobbies, all of her interests, everything, they just dissolved. And honestly, I was not hoping for that. And I mean, her character was kind of weak and like a damsel in distress, a frail kind of woman, which was quite unexpected. And but like I still like liked her role to some extent. But as a woman, I was hoping that she'd be more stronger and outward. I was glad that she was at some point relatable when she was like shown, like, to be a little clumsy and, have little flaws. But being obsessed with a man and ditching everything for him, and literally giving up her entire career and everything for a man, getting married at the age of 18, was too much of a drag for me. But like, as I said, I would have reimagined her to be more stronger. And that's why. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had a chance to read your presentation beforehand, and really, really well said. So, like, a round of applause for her. I think you analyzed her character pretty much spot on. Like, Isabella Swan is someone who, for those of you who aren't acquainted, Twilight is basically about this teenage. She's a teenager, right? A teenage girl who, again, it's a coming of age story about, supposedly a coming of age story about how she possibly would become a vampire. And like, instead of that being the main conflict, I agree completely. I mean, it just completely became about her obsession with this love interest who is a vampire, and there's another one who's a werewolf, and the whole series continues. And what's really interesting to note is that the book upon which the movie is based is written by a woman, and so is the screenplay. The screenwriter is a woman, so it just goes to reinforce that basically we as women have also ingested the patriarchal kind of whatever's been told to us and the conditioning that we've kind of absorbed through cinema. And it just goes to show how dangerous that can be. And also, I mean, all the decision makers at the studio level, most of them are males, which, I mean, today it's changing slowly, but that is the stark reality. So I think I see like so many people in the room, and I hope that tomorrow when you guys are filmmakers or at the studio level or whatever, you will kind of, come at this subject matter with a different gaze. And I think, again, that's like the whole point of the workshop. But absolutely, I agree. Like, we basically saw Isabella Swan as a damsel in distress. I have no idea what her flaws are. And I mean, like, sure, she is clumsy, and you rightfully, she gets nervous, and you rightfully pointed that out. And that does make her relatable, but honestly, like, I have no idea what her goals are, what her relationships with her other friends are. None of that, like what it is with her family. Becoming a vampire would basically mean that you become immortal, right? You never die. And so how does that affect like different aspects of your life? I don't think any of that was even a topic of consideration. So it just goes to show that, only one dimension was explored. And I think as a writer, and like all of us in the kind of work that we do, we want to aspire to like not fall into the trap of writing singular like unidimensional characters, and just give them a goal, give them a flaw, give them a life besides the love interest, and let them not just service that storyline. Like, let them have their own coming of age, let them have their own arc. What are they at the beginning of the film? What do they become at the end of it? And what is that journey for themselves personally? That is something, at an age where you're like 18, you're so confused, you're figuring everything out. I think having that just influenced by like a male love interest was completely, I would not recommend any of the youth watch that. But very nicely pointed out.
Yashna, since you're so familiar with the series, do you want to sort of analyze for us why this happens in Twilight? What is the need, the reason that the female character is being written like this, and how can it change? I mean, you're very qualified to answer this question, so please tell us.
Yeah, I mean, to go to your question, I think they were catering to an audience which, you know, I mean, it's a huge, like the young adult, everyone wants to kind of cater to the young adult audience. They want subscribers, they want eyeballs, because, you know, y'all are like the new, y'all are the future, and they want to kind of capture the attention. It's very hard to do, like at every studio level, every production company, everyone kind of targets this audience as a very coveted audience. And so, you know, I think, I mean, it probably came from like giving them something that would be relatable and something that they would like. And for some reason, that was misinterpreted to mean, oh, let's give them like a love story. Because at that age, you know, you're kind of exploring what that means. And unfortunately, it didn't go deeper. So I think, I mean, all like the best solution would be to like go deeper. And yes, it's very normal to like someone at that age and to not, you know what those feelings are like and to figure that out. But I think along with that, there are so many other aspects to growing up which were completely ignored. And so the solution would be, I guess, to see, you know, Bella Swan in other aspects of her life, understand again what does she want in life besides this boy, man, whatever, the, you know, vampire. And just the you know, the consequences of like that decision, what that would weigh on, you know, on her and the people around her. So I think just portraying her as like a real human it's very hard to do. It's like a tall order to give a writer. Oh, let this person seem, you know, as realistic as possible. But I think you just, if you dig deep enough, I mean, that's where the work is and that's where the reward is. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. The next presentation is by Amit Ranjan. If you'll please come up here.
Very good evening to everyone present here. So, the character that I chose is Zoya from Ranjana. And the thing that I found problematic is that कि वो बहुत ज़्यादा selfish है. She is very greedy in nature. She is so self-centered. And वो सिर्फ खुद की चीज़ें देखती है कि उसका जहाँ फ़ायदा हो रहा है वो बस वो काम कर रही है. वो कभी भी कुंदन की फीलिंग को नहीं समझ पाती है कि कुंदन क्या फील करता है उसके लिए. एंड डिस्पाइट नोइंग के कुंदन हैज़ ऑल हर हार्ट, हैज़ गिवन ऑल हर हार्ट, हिज हार्ट टू हर, वो ये नहीं देखती है कि मुझे किस एक्सटेंट तक जा कर के किसी भी अपने प्रॉब्लम्स को डील करना चाहिए. व्हेनेवर शी इज़ इन एनी काइंड ऑफ ट्रबल, तो वो कुंदन से रीच आउट करके उसका हेल्प ले करके वो चाहती है कि वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाए. और अंत में क्या होता है, कुंदन डाइज. एंड आई डोंट थिंक कि ये रियलाइजेशन होने के लिए कि ऑफ समवंस इमोशन एंड फीलिंग कि उसका कॉस्ट इतना ज़्यादा हो कि उसको अपना लाइफ देना पड़ जाए. तो and at the same time Zoya was pretty much educated. She went to JNU for her studies. और कुंदन गांव में रहता है, वो बनारस में रहता है. वो उतना ज़्यादा समझदार नहीं है, मगर जोया तो थी. उसे ये चीज़ तो समझना चाहिए था कि ठीक है, अगर वो कुंदन अपना पार्ट जो जिस भी तरीके से वो प्ले कर रहा है, तो मैं उससे ओपन रहूँ और मैं उसको बता पाऊँ कि ठीक है, दिस इज़ व्हाट इट इज़. बट इट नेवर हैपेंड इन द मूवी. एंड जोया always wanted to take things that was problematic for Kundan, and that's all. Yeah.
Amit, I'll ask you, do you have any suggestions on how you would rewrite the character? Is that something you want to talk about?
Yeah, so for that matter, मैं ये कोशिश करूँगा कि जोया एम्पैथिक हो और उसके अंदर इतनी सी सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर एंड थिंकिंग एबिलिटी हो कि वो होता है ना किस हद तक जाना होता है। अगर मुझे किसी से फ़ायदा ही लेना है तो उसकी भी एक लिमिट होती है, ये नहीं कि वो सामने वाला उसमें तबाह हो जाए, यू नो कि तो ये चीज़ नहीं होनी चाहिए, वो एम्पैथेटिक होनी चाहिए थी। एंड शी शुड नॉट बी हैविंग शी मस्ट बी काइंड इनफ टू अंडरस्टैंड समवंस फीलिंग, और उसका फ़ायदा नहीं उठाना था उसको, और दैट्स व्हाट हैपेंड इन द मूवी। सो दिस वाज माय पॉइंट। या
Thank you.
थैंक यू।
I want to thank you, Amit, for picking up this film actually and this character, because Ranjana पे इतनी बात हुई है life में, लेकिन most of that dialogue has been around is it glorifying stalking or isn't it, और उसी debate में हम हमेशा उलझ के रह जाते हैं. Actually you're right, हमने जोया के character को तो कभी देखा ही नहीं. Like no one has bothered to think about whether this character is consistent. And I'll come to this. Why is that character not consistent? What is the problem with the film? Why was it not possible to write a consistent Zoya? I have a theory on it. But first I want to respond to what you said कि end में तो वो तबाह हो जाता है, मर जाता है. और फिर मुझे याद आया कि वो डर में शाहरुख खान भी मर जाता है. और ये इत्तेफाक नहीं है. There's a way to condone मेरे ख्याल से a stalker, and only in death can he have his salvation. बिकॉज अगर वो नहीं मरता तो हम शायद उसके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इस तरह सिंपथेटिकली उसको नहीं व्यू कर रहे होते. सो दैट इज़ द रीज़न दैट दैट एंडिंग वाज चोजन, आई थिंक. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Highly problematic, absolutely. Absolutely. So it is. It's Ranjana. It's a film about Kundan. It's not a film about Zoya. It's his film. It starts with his point of view. It ends with him. His voiceover takes us through. We're inside his head the whole time. So we see Zoya the way he sees Zoya. The way what you are telling me, ki wo, how she doesn't respond to him, how she's erratic with him. She has amnesia. She comes back थोड़े सालों बाद और वो उसको मतलब entirely भूल चुकी होती है. And फिर she blows hot, blows cold, ghosts him. पता नहीं, it's very, you can't predict what Zoya will do. And I think that we see her like that because Kundan sees her like that, and the writer and the filmmaker are with Kundan most definitely, not with Zoya's character. And on this मुझे एक example और भी याद आता है from that film itself. जब कुंदन को ज़रूरत पड़ती है, if you remember, वो स्वरा को recruit करता है कि तुम नाटक करो and get that doctor eliminated from the picture. He knows Swara has feelings for him, and he's using Swara to help the girl he has feelings for. Is he not doing exactly what you say Sonam is doing, Sonam's character is doing? Right? But we find that way more problematic when Sonam is selfish. But we don't find it problematic when Kundan is selfish, because again, we're in his head. This is his story. And so that's, again, I'm not even saying that no one should ever make a film about a man who doesn't take no for an answer, a man who pursues even though the woman very clearly says to him repeatedly, I am not interested in you. Perhaps if you want to make a film about a stalker, we can talk about that too. But to only make it solely from the stalker's point of view, that is problematic. So whose lens is it? Whose story is it? And if we, and as far as solutions go, if I could have a more rounded Zoya, what does she want? She fell in love with Kundan pretty much at the drop of a hat, very suddenly. Then she was shipped away to some other city, came back completely having forgotten him, and madly in love, head over heels, with another guy who, if I remember, the love story is that basically the first few times that she met with Abhay, he negged her. And he said something to her कि तुमने मुस्कुरा के कहा होता तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होता. I mean, basically saying your resting bitch face isn't great, smile more, you look prettier. Right? And she fell in love with him. So I find many of these things highly problematic. But I'm glad you brought Zoya up, because what it's doing is that Zoya is problematic because the film is problematic. That is my understanding of it. And later, I guess we'll all discuss. Please. very good point, yes. Thank you, ma'am. What an excellent point. Yeah.
Point, because projecting women, or showing any kind of representing any minorities, does not mean you show them in good light. You have to show them as actual people, real people, full of flaws and problems and good, bad, evil, everything. So being selfish is not a problematic trait. I mean, it's part of making a person a complete person. So
Zoya ko hak bhi hai to be erratic. Look, Kundan fell in love with her at first glance. Usko usne namaz padhte dekha aur pyar ho gaya. He didn't know what he signed up for. Now she's erratic. Deal with it. I mean, it's very possible that. Absolutely, it would be charming. Like, he'd be impulsive, childlike. So why is it that the woman can't be like this?
Even in modern women, we want to see them polite. We want to see them politely invisible in every room that they are in. If you want to protest, do it politely. If I have stalked you, push back politely. If you are offended, argue back politely. I think that is also a problem, that we women don't have to always be polite, especially when they've been pushed to a corner.
I used to really love the show Girls when it released, and again, it's much debated, and many people have very vehement bad reaction to that show. But my argument in defending it is that it gave women the right to be absolutely obnoxious, filthy, horrible, mean, petty, and it really just showed them like that as well-rounded, horrible people. And some part of me really needed to see that. I'm so sick of seeing these goddesses deified on screen that I really enjoyed these awful women doing their thing. Uh, Absolutely, absolutely. Right. So that's, I don't know, I hope that I don't know what you think of that, but perhaps there's a little more debate in your head around the character of Zoya. I fully agree with you that there's a problem there, but I think the problem lies in the entire film, and that is why she's the way she is.
आई जस्ट वॉन्ट टू ऐड बिकॉज बहुत भरा हुआ है अंदर रांझना के लिए ना, तो मैं निकाल देती हूँ थोड़ा सा. सो सो आई थिंक व्हाट इज द एक स्टॉकर लड़का है जो एक लड़की से बेइंतहा मोहब्बत में पड़ जाता है ना. वो उसका इतना पीछा करता है कि वो बेचारी हार मान के उसको हाँ बोल देती है. और फिर वो मतलब एज द स्टोरी प्रोग्रेसेस थोड़े बड़े होते हैं, वो लड़कपन का प्यार बोलते हैं ना कि तो वो बाहर जाती है, उसके घर वाले उसे बाहर भेज देते हैं. तो जब वो लौट के आती है तब वो अपने आई विल नॉट डिस्कस फॉर नाउ, जो अभय देओल वाला पूरा ट्रैक है ना, उस पर नहीं जाते, वो भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक है. टोटली अग्री है, फुली अग्री. बट मैं वापस यहाँ पे आ रही हूँ कि वही आप बना रांझा की वन लाइन कहानी है कि एक लड़का एक लड़की से इतनी मोहब्बत करता है कि उसके लिए अपनी जान दे देता है. तो जब आपकी वन लाइन ही है तो ऑफकोर्स आप कहानी में लड़के के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ही आप कहानी के अंदर घुसेंगे, लड़के के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ही आप उसके प्यार को समझेंगे, है ना. मतलब कि ये क्या महसूस करता है इसके लिए, इसको क्या फीलिंग है इसके लिए, अरे इसने दिल तोड़ दिया, देखो भूल के चली गई, है ना. क्योंकि वो ये महसूस, अगर ये बीच में अगर हम जोया का भी वॉइस ओवर लगा देते कि उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है, तो हमें ज़्यादा समझ में यार ये इरिटेट करे, ये पागल है क्या, नीचे खड़ा हो गया यार, ये क्या चल रहा है यार, ये है ना. मतलब हम तो यही फील कर रहे थे ना उस समय जब मैं फिल्म देख रही थी. तो मुझे तो बहुत गुस्सा आ रहा था कि क्या कर रही है यार, हाँ क्यों बोल रही है यार, निकलना यहाँ से, निकलना यार, ये किस जगह फंस गई यार तू, लिटरली एंड फिर कुछ भी नहीं होता यार. कितने अफसोस की बात है कि उसने अपनी ज़िंदगी तबाह कर दी यार. मतलब तू क्या क्या कर सकता था अपने जीवन में, है ना, कहाँ कहाँ पहुँच सकता था, और तू अलग ही ट्रैक पे निकल गया. और फिर अच्छे गाने बनाए फिल्म में, सब वो नाच गाना सही था, बट व्हाट, तूने क्या उखाड़ा जीवन में यार. सॉरी.
Go ahead, Shazia.
So, sorry. The problem with films like Ranjana is also it's a larger problem about romantic love, what we understand by romantic love. So it's not just limited to films, and it extends to real life in real life, right? Because what do we mean by this over romanticization of love? Where one person kills themselves because दूसरे ने हाँ नहीं बोली, I cannot get that. Possession is not love. So at some point, cinema also we need to understand that and go beyond it. But हम अब तक वही film बना रहे हैं कि एक person दूसरे person को नहीं मिला तो possessing someone is not love. Love can still exist without it. But ये 16th century का idea है about romantic love, and we need to challenge that. As filmmakers, you guys will make stories tomorrow. Go beyond these ideas of love कि अगर लड़की मुझे नहीं मिली तो मैं हाथ काट दूंगा. I think it's very silly and irresponsible to continue to do that further. Because
So
you
this
make
whole
cinema to change society or have an impact on society. Not say कि हाँ ऐसा लड़का भी होता है लेकिन दूसरी तरह का लड़का भी हो सकता है तो वो दूसरा लड़का बताओ. The more you reinforce all these problematic ideas, that's not the job of an filmmaker.
Also servicing this is कि ना में हाँ है thing, right? Like ना में ना होती है यार. मतलब you're not supposed to wait till she changes her mind. Like if she knows her mind, and we need to respect that. You have to stop chasing that. If I just sing 3 more A.R. Rahman songs, it's going to become a yes. It's not. It's not.
Thank you. I know there's a question there, but we'll do that at the end if we have time. Mahika Bheda, if you'll come on, please.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. My heart is racing right now. Sorry. Good evening. I chose the character of Nandini Yashwardhan Raichand from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Jaya Bachchan's character. हम सबकी गिल्टी प्लेजर रह चुका है केतरी जी, बट इवेंचुअली जब व्हेन यू वॉच इट ध्यान से यू गेट टू नो दैट द कैरेक्टर वाज वेरी अनरियलिस्टिक. लाइक शी वाज अ वेरी नाइस ओबीडियंट लविंग मदर एंड एवरीथिंग, बट उसके अलावा कुछ था ही नहीं. मतलब उसका लाइफ खाली आइदर अमिताभ बच्चन कैरेक्टर और शाहरुख खान कैरेक्टर. शी डिडंट हैव एन इंडिविजुअल पर्सनैलिटी. लाइक it showed us that a woman's life, her character is just defined by her relationships. She doesn't have individual opinions, thoughts, कुछ भी नहीं दिखाया गया पूरे पिक्चर में. And Amitabh Bachchan's character was very patriarchal, dominant and everything, but she was expected to be very submissive. मतलब he says कह दिया ना कह दिया, and she's just shutting up. She's not saying anything. Her son is being kicked out of the house and she's not saying anything. भगवान के सामने जाके रो रही है. It sets very unrealistic expectations of फॉर द यूथ. लाइक मतलब आज जो लड़के वो पिक्चर देख रहे हैं वो एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे हमारी बीवी इतनी ओबीडियंट होनी चाहिए, शांत होनी चाहिए. और लड़कियां जो देख रही है, मैं तो भाई ऐसे सबकॉन्शियसली आई एम रनिंग अवे फ्रॉम मैरिज. आई डोंट वांट टू गिव अप माय पर्सनैलिटी फॉर अ मैन, लाइक गेटिंग मैरिड, और मैं अपना सब काम छोड़ के बैठ जाऊँ, ये सब वो सब. प्लस आउटसाइड ऑफ द रायचंद हाउस शी डिडंट हैव एनीथिंग. लाइक देयर इज नो, दिखाया ही नहीं है कुछ कि शी वेक्स अप फॉर देम. मतलब स्टूल पे चढ़ के टाई बांधेगी, वही काम है उसका, और कुछ किया ही नहीं है मतलब उसने. हाँ, तो इफ आई वुड चेंज समथिंग इन हर, आई वुड मेक हर मोर वोकल. लाइक इवन इफ हर हस्बैंड इज पेट्रियार्कल एंड ही डजंट लिसन टू हर एंड एवरीथिंग, एटलीस्ट शी कैन कीप हर फ्रंट आउट देयर. लाइक कुछ बोले तो सही, मतलब चुप बैठने का काम नहीं करने का ऐसा. एंड sorry, I would give her some more personality traits. Like what happens is ना ऐसे सब characters देख के ना audience सोचने लगता है कि personally I have seen people who start treating the women in their houses as it is a privilege, you are doing this for us. मतलब तुम हमारे लिए खाना बनाती हो, सुबह उठती हो, साफ सफाई करते हो, तुम्हारे मतलब लाइफ में कुछ होगा ही नहीं इस चीज़ के बिना, तुम्हारा प्रिविलेज है. ऐसे सबकॉन्शियसली ट्रीट करने लगते हैं. एंड मूवीज एंड कैरेक्टर्स लाइक दिस प्रमोट दैट, एंड विच इज़ रॉन्ग. And yeah, thank you.
Would you, Mahika, would you reimagine the film with a matriarch instead of a patriarch? Yeah. Would that be fun for you? I'm just throwing suggestions. 100%. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it was a brilliant analysis. I think pretty much मैंने पढ़ा भी था आपका पहले, और मुझे भी यही सारी चीज़ें फील हुई थी. फिल्म देखते समय तो नहीं, तब तो हम भी इतने समझदार और हाँ मतलब अकल नहीं आई थी. लेट्स जस्ट से व्हाट इट इज़. एंड बट यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट यार. आई थिंक हाँ, अगर ये मेट्रियार्क होगा, मतलब पूरी फिल्म अगर रीराइट करें इस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कि जया बच्चन जी का जो कैरेक्टर है, शी इज़ द हेड ऑनचो ऑफ द फैमिली और वो सब रन करती हैं. तो मतलब वेरी सिंपल थिंग्स यार. हम बोलते हैं ना कि आई नीड टाइम फॉर माई सेल्फ, दिस इज़ माई मी टाइम, है ना. ये 10 मिनट प्लीज़ मुझे छोड़ दो. मम्मी भी करती हैं ये, है ना. और हमको पता ही नहीं है यार कि उनका कैरेक्टर क्या करता था. सुबह कितने बजे उठती थी वो, या कब कितनी पहले तैयार हो जाती थी टाई बांधने के लिए, है ना. वैसी वाली चीज़ें. हाँ.
उससे 15 मिनट पहले.
नहीं, लेकिन इतना सजने संवरने में उनको आई एम श्योर 2-3 घंटा पहले कॉल टाइम आया होगा उनका कि एनीवे आप बोलो.
उसका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज वहां तक ही है, ऐसा नहीं है. मतलब पर्सनल लाइफ पर्सनल काम होते हैं, मतलब ऐसे.
नो नो, एब्सोल्युटली आई टोटली अग्री. मतलब वो घर का काम कर रही हैं, आप बाहर का काम कर रहे हैं. ओके, वी आर स्टिल इक्वल्स, है ना. क्योंकि मैं भी ये काम कर रही हूँ और आप बाहर का काम कर रहे हैं. बट वो इक्वालिटी वाली चीज़ वहाँ पे आती जब कह दिया तो कह दिया पे वो जवाब देती कि सुन भाई तमीज़ से थोड़ा, है ना. हाँ, ये तो ये सब टेक्स्ट निकल रहा है अभी. आई थिंक वो तब तक आते आते वो सही हो जाता. बट या प्रीटी मच आई थिंक. आई डोंट नो अगर आप लोगों को कुछ ऐड करना है तो. बट
Oh yes, yes, yes. Right.
Rather than just being subordinate to the wishes of the husband. So that kind of dynamism, that kind of depth in characters we can bring where there is a conversation between the male and female characters.
yeah, yeah.
We don't want matriarchs. We don't like that army across the street. We need where there is a conversation.
Yeah, I had read Rajiv Masand had mentioned it in one of his film reviews, and that line stayed with me. That sometimes to show empowered women, we just write them as badly behaved men, and that's not always true. You know, to show empowered women, you don't have to show them as obnoxiously terrible, cigarette dangling, hence empowered. That's not the only way to do it. Also, yeah.
So, when we're talking about something like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, now it's been a few years, like you said, उसमें तो मजा ही आया था. हालांकि I would say कि I enjoyed the film perhaps in the moment, but there was a sense of discomfort, and I didn't know what was making me uncomfortable. What was this? It made me feel inadequate because I was none of the women there, and I knew that I would have to grow up and be some of the women there because what other kind of woman is there? So there was that. But and now I'm saying we're laughing and it's in hindsight. But I want to talk for a moment about misogyny. And there is a deep anger in our society against women for trying to be just human beings. And that anger comes from characters like this. When we grow up watching that women are such good mothers, daughters, bahuranis, etc. And then when men don't meet those women in real life, they feel very angry and very let down. Because that's what they were looking for, and we are not those people, and therefore there is this anger, and so it has a serious repercussion as well, even though we're making light of it right now.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'll call upon the next person, Harsh Salunke, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harsh. I chose the character of Preeti from Kabir Singh. Preeti as a character was very problematic to me. She had very little to no character graph throughout the movie. Preeti, right from her introduction scene, is shown to be silent, living life with her head down. She is shown to have no opinions of her own, just like the society accepts from girls. Even while she was being ragged by her seniors, she had nothing to say to them. She had no stand of her own, and always depended on someone else to support her. When she was mistreated by boys, she didn't stand up for herself and waited for Kabir to take action, or she wasn't given the opportunity to express her anger. It was because she allowed Kabir to dominate her and use her as his property. Even during her pregnancy, she is shown unhappy and portrayed like she needs someone else's support to be emotionally all right. Even though she shows uh, even she shows as a society we have flaws in love, and we accept anything in the name of that, even abuse, which is completely wrong. In the end, we see Preeti also slaps Kabir and everything is resolved. She uses violence against violence, which is wrongly conveyed, as there is no end to this cycle. Kabir would slap her again, she would slap him again. uh, she, show, uh, she should have opted a better way to answer him and stand up against him. If I had to reimagine Preeti as an independent, uh, I would make her more independent. I would definitely make her dominating, loud, and upfront. I would use the ragging scene as her introductory scene and show her taking a stand for herself and even for others. This Preeti would be more independent and wouldn't allow Kabir to dominate her. She would have her own opinion and won't blindly follow what Kabir would say. She would stand up for herself against the boys who mistreated her, and I wouldn't mind Kabir to be there supporting her, but all the talking and taking action would be done by her. I would portray her happy, contented in the end, as she would not accept Kabir back. It would portray a strong message that abuse and violence is not acceptable, even if it's love. You have to put yourself first. This would show Preeti to be a more inspiring and strong character. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, Kabir Singh. It's a film. मतलब इतना कुछ कहा गया film के बारे में. Yeah, मतलब we've all read stuff about it. We've all heard it's a problematic film, very problematic character, all of that. Can I ask you what's problematic about Kabir?
I feel Kabir is like मेरे अलावा कोई नहीं है इस दुनिया में. He's like he feels he's the greatest and he can dominate everyone, which he shouldn't.
Okay, and you think there are no men like that?
There are men like that.
So then there who likes Kabir Singh will tell you that what is wrong in portraying such a person on cinema.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Like if there are real men like that, right?
Yeah.
There are real people like that, I would say, not just men. So what is wrong in portrayal of Kabir Singh? What is wrong with that character?
Yeah,
What is
so-
wrong with the film?
So many young boys take Kabir as their role model and feel like it is okay dominating girls, it is okay drinking alcohol in the morning, and it gives a wrong message to the young audience which are taking the movie, which are perceiving the movie. Sorry.
So Kabir is basically this entitled character who has a alcohol problem, but actually it's his entitlement. कि मुझे गुस्सा करना है, I will do it. I want to say ये लड़की मेरी बंदी है.
Yeah.
And no one has a say on that. That girl herself, he takes away the agency of the girl. But it's not कि ऐसे लड़के नहीं होते हैं. So it's not the portrayal of a guy like that on screen. It's the filmmaker's voice which says it's okay.
Right.
Because he has no redemption by end.
Right.
At no point, even in the last, so people who had a problem with the film was not कि ऐसा character लिखा गया है, but क्योंकि उसका कोई redemption नहीं है, कोई solution नहीं है उसका. That is the problem with Kabir's character. And of course, there's a problem with Preeti's character because that is how the filmmaker, writer sees the world. That's his gender politics. कि ऐसी लड़कियां होती हैं जो चुप रहती हैं, अपने लिए डिसीजन नहीं लेती हैं, ऐसे और उसको ऐसा ही लड़का मिलता है जो सबके लिए डिसीजन लेता है, खुद के लिए भी नहीं. If you see Kabir, he's also the same way with his family, with the entire world.
Right.
But there are also other problematic characters in the film, like the girl's father. Right. It's just not Kabir Singh who's problematic. The girl's father is extremely problematic. Right. So she comes from a family जहाँ पे father is used to behaving, like taking decision without any woman or anybody else having any say. So ये पूरा फिल्म का जो यूनिवर्स है बहुत ही वॉप्ड है. ऐसा नहीं है कि ऐसे कैरेक्टर्स नहीं है हमारे सोसाइटी में, बट उनके लिए रिडेम्पशन नहीं है. बिकॉज जो डायरेक्टर थे उन्होंने खुद बोला कि अगर प्यार होता है तो थप्पड़ मार सकते हैं. Right, so he comes from that place, and that's why, because if you see the film also again, like Kantara has very good craft और बहुत सारे melodious songs दे दिए जहाँ पे आप देखोगे at the end of the song you'll be crying, right? Because all these films are nicely wrapped with these really beautiful melodious song जिसे youth connect कर पाता है, and then they understand कि this is the idea of love, and this is what they seek. But there is something that you said in your analysis. You actually unwrapped the character really well. But there is one thing which you said, that what would you do if Preeti had to be a more inspiring character? She had to be dominating, she had to be loud. No, she doesn't have to be that. She just has to have her agency. Usse, she can be soft-spoken. It's not that loud talking people are empowered people. A woman can be soft-spoken and she can be empowered. A woman can be like non-dominating and still have a say in things. Like, our mothers and our previous generation, women didn't have a chance to speak. ये तो हम आज ये ऐसा situation आ गया जहाँ सब मिलकर के बैठ के बात कर रहे हैं, let's decode women on screen. I mean, we also have to decode women off screen, first of all, because cinema also, it's part of the society, right? Our society is problematic, that's why films are problematic. So for you, I have a suggestion that don't think that dominating women are empowered women. A woman who has the freedom to make her own choices, that's empowering. And Preeti, of course, didn't have that. They try to do that in bits here and there, but it's a warped universe of the filmmaker, which I don't understand. And I'm glad actually a film like Kabir Singh was made, because it started that conversation on a big mainstream level. So I wouldn't say कि कबीर सिंह जैसी फिल्म नहीं बननी चाहिए, because I don't know कि कितने लड़के या लड़कियां अग्री करते हैं कि कबीर सिंह प्रॉब्लमैटिक फिल्म है, बट जो अग्री नहीं करते हैं ना वो भी सोचेंगे कि अच्छा हम ऐसा सोच रहे हैं वो सही है कि नहीं. So I think thanks to Kabir Singh that we reached a point where we are having this conversation. Now the South films that we are not having a conversation about, we need to catch up. Because I mean, Kantara can be another 2-hour session. But thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you. Thanks, Shazia. I want to underline an important point you made, which is that characters can be deplorable, men and women. The point is whether the narrative, whether the director, whether the filmmaker is condoning that action, condemning it, redeeming it. What is the film saying? So the film and the character are not always saying the same thing. So you can have films about all kinds of characters, but what is the filmmaking saying and what is the narrative telling us? That's what we need to draw a separation between. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Out of the theatre, you should feel disgust for the person, disapproval of the person, and not come out feeling glamorized, seeing him as an epitome of romance or something like that. I think that is where the whole problem is. As you rightly said, we have to talk about those characters, those powerful, strong, whatever, the enchanting characters, violent characters. It's not that we don't want to make stories about them, right? What do I take back when I leave the theatre? So many of my own family members say, oh, it is so family. Then you're really conveying something wrong about the whole thing, that is what is very wrong.
Romanticization of toxic masculinity. It's not that characters exist.
But I would still say I don't want to see a film at the end of I feel that this character is so obnoxious, then there is something wrong with the film. I still want to root for that central character, because as a filmmaker, that is what we aspire to do, right? That somebody should feel sympathy for my character. They should relate to the character. And the fact that some people relate to Kabir Singh is the problem. Because the Yeah, that's the problem with the society. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem with the society, and hence that's the problem with the film. That you're actually relating to a character who has no redemption. I have no problem with a character who's angry and entitled and has this toxic masculine. All of that is fine. But if you're not redeeming him at the end, if he's not apologetic, Kabir is not apologetic. वो सामने से माफ़ कर देती है, वो माफ़ी मांगता नहीं है. लेकिन if you see the film, it's in nuances. He really is not sorry about his behavior. You know that he will continue that obnoxious behavior, like Harsh rightly put it. That दोनों एक दूसरे को थप्पड़ मारते रहेंगे relationship में, because they understand.
Then, according to you, in your book, what do you think?
I don't think there is a graph there.
How odd.
It's hardly, I mean, I don't know if the director thinks, I would love to have a chat with him, but if he thinks there is a graph, because I don't think at any point Kabir is like, मेरे गुस्से के वजह से मैंने relationship खराब किया, या मेरे गुस्से के वजह से, या मेरे entitlement के वजह से. I don't think he ever vocalizes it. मतलब, if, I mean, you guys read into it, then please let me know, because मुझे तो नहीं लगा था. That's the problem with the film, that he's never apologetic about his behavior. And till the end, I think film के 10 मिनट खत्म होने के पहले तक he keeps saying ये मेरी बंदी है, मेरी बंदी है. Like, this kind of a language, I know कि शायद इंडिया में 67-70% young लड़के बोलते होंगे मेरी बंदी है, but नहीं बोलना चाहिए ना. मतलब we now need to understand ना कि मेरी बंदी मतलब chair, furniture, property नहीं है. You can't use a language like that. लड़के करते हैं तो उनको पता चलना चाहिए. It's a vice versa thing, right? Pop culture influences life and the other way around. So.
Trying to show your anger is about being patriarchal. And we too have been raised to wait for a man who will sweep of this Meri Bandi hai. So I fully, I mean, it's a problem from both sides.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, sorry, I'm coming back to Kantara again because I'm so angry with that film. That the lead hero is a sexual harasser. And you are saying this film depicts Indian culture. What is Indian culture? Like, sexually harassing women is Indian culture. Please, if any one of you in this room has liked that film, question yourself. That if this is what we say, what Indian culture is, it's very, very problematic. I mean, any culture of any country has to be more than harassing women. And we need to question, why are we okay with accepting a film like Kantara? And call it like, finally, we are getting to see a rooted film. Rooted. सबको भी rooted word समझ में आ गया है कि नहीं? Film बहुत rooted है. अरे, sorry, I can go on.
Thank you, Shazia. We will get to questions at the end. Please hold your thought. What is it?
It's about Kantara itself. So,
Go
I
ahead.
enjoyed the film, and honestly speaking, the male character was bad. You should not be portraying someone like that. लेकिन जैसा आपने बोला कि जो उसकी romantic interest थी, उसके पास में खुद के opinions नहीं थे. लेकिन you're not talking about his mom,
The mom is more problematic than the romantic interest.
हमने वो चीज नहीं बोली ना, जैसे उसको कबीर सिंह को बोला था कि हाँ यार ये उसको रिडेम्पशन नहीं दिया. इस कैरेक्टर के पास में एटलीस्ट एक थोड़ा सा बिट ऑफ रिडेम्पशन है. इन द एंड ही अंडरस्टैंड्स. इन द एंड ही एक्चुअली अंडरस्टैंड्स कि वो जो कर रहा है वो गलत है.
No, that is not redemption. I'm sorry. मतलब our mainstream cinema to men. Okay. No, you're saying वो I agree, but then this. I'm saying वो but का issue है. That you're moving from that. Our mainstream cinema caters to men. It does not cater to women. That is why all these toxic masculinity is working. 70s में सलीम जावेद ने भी बच्चन का character लिखा था, angry young man. But he was a rebel with a cause. अभी के सारे rebel without cause है. I'm sorry. नहीं जनरल टॉपिक पे नहीं, मैं कांतारा पे ही बात कर रही हूँ. अगर आप बोल रहे हो कि फॉरेस्ट लैंड का ये वॉट एवर दैट भूत काला, आई वॉन्ट गो इन टू दैट. आई मीन आई ऑल्सो हैव एन इशू विद द एंटायर कि रूटेड है, कल्चर है. सॉरी, सिनेमा इज सपोज टू चैलेंज द स्टेटस को. इट्स नॉट सपोज टू accept the status quo ki, oh, this is our Indian culture. Let's go on from that.
We are going to continue this conversation over dinner.
We will talk
Rest
about this
assured.
outside.
Right now I'm going to call upon Vanshika Bansal.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vanshika Bansal. So I chose the character of Anjali Sharma from Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. So everyone's in the 90s loved the movie Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and it's easy to see why. The film's character, music, cinematography, colors was legendary. But it has been said that theatre is a mirror reflecting society's sharp cultures and stereotypes. In the film's first act, Anjali Sharma is portrayed as a tomboy who stands out for not conforming to the stereotype of a feminine woman. By doing tomboyish things like wearing men's clothes, having short hair, and engaging in traditionally male activities like sports, because male is traditionally towards, I mean, sports is traditionally towards male, like male activity. Less of the women are contributing in that sector. So when Rahul realizes that Anjali is better at these activities, and his pride gets the better of him, and he begins to cheat in the game itself. So that itself shows how the problematic the setting was of that thing. So as Anjali does not conform to the society rules and gender norms, she is often ignored by boys and has male or few of female friends as well. Like a chameleon, changing its pattern of sports and stripes, Rahul also prioritizes shifts as soon as the feminine woman of version exists in his life, and that is Tina. So women are often seen as carrying themselves in a very proper manner, which is again problematic. So yeah, Anjali tries to impress Rahul by dressing like Tina. So there's this scene where she dresses like Tina and do her hair like Tina, and what does she get? She gets humiliated. So yeah, and Tina has been on the other hand declared dead. Anjali has grown her hair and started dressing like a stereotypical Indian girl. That sari, bindi, mang tika, and everything. The other half promotes Anjali's portrayal as someone who abandons her true self in favor of perpetuating societal prejudices and stereotypes. Rahul is now also attracted to her and begins to develop romantic feelings for her. It's ridiculous that she almost got married to different men she doesn't care for and pretend to be someone she is not just to find true love that will last a lifetime. It's great that Kuch Kuch Hota has been so well received across the country, but I feel it's important to point out that it's not at all gender sensitive, and in a diplomatic way, it has hurt the feelings of many. If I were to create a new version of Anjali Sharma, I'd give her more guts and self assurance to be comfortable in her own self, who adores everything about her, be courageous while also being empathetic, to be loved and loved. Every character has flaws, but to embrace it is what makes the characterization more powerful. True love is when people accept their partner for who they truly are. Anjali and Rahul were best friends, and there always was a spark between them. She didn't need to change herself to get loved by him. He needed he needed to broaden his mindset and to love her the way she deserved. They together would have fought against the society's stigma, which would have resulted in more stronger bonding between them. To fight against odds and to make world a better place is what it's all about. The character of Rahul was particularly troublesome since, as a result of masculine toxicity, as we earlier talked about, he was constantly required to repress his inner feelings as well. If like her wife Tina died, so in front of his family, it was expected that he should not show his emotions, and he often used to cry alone and not with their family. He was constantly required to repress his inner feelings and refrain from crying. In society's eye, men don't cry. When viewed by a gender sensitive lens, the main goal should be to eradicate male toxicity and empower women and men both. Additionally, Rahul was depicted in his first half constantly flirting and playing with the emotions of the girls, which is once more provocative. Movie production requires careful curation because movies are both a mirror and an inspiration for society. Thank you.
What's emerging for me from every presentation is that these characters can't be written differently until the films themselves change. They are written this way for a very specific reason. I'll let you go ahead, Aarti.
As someone who saw Kuch Kuch Hota Hai 5 times in the theatre, and it remained one of my favorite films for a long time, बहुत सालों से दिल पर पत्थर रख रख कर मैंने accept किया है और that some films do not age well. And I remember that even Karan Johar has accepted this in one of his interviews, saying that I'm so embarrassed about, like when I look back on Kuch Kuch Hota Hai now, I'm very embarrassed about the obvious problems that the film had, and if I had to make it again today, it would be written very differently. So I want to start off by saying that thankfully Dear is one of the few directors who accepts that, okay, there was a problem, and maybe if I get a chance, I'll fix it. Everything that you said makes absolute sense, and I agree with all the points that you made about Anjali's character, right? And you know, it just brought to mind that I was trying to ask myself that why did I not question it then? Apart from the fact that I don't think I was a fully realized person even at that time. So you just take things as they come. But in popular cinema, a lot of the problems I feel get covered with great casting. The minute you get an actor who is as charming and as amazing as Shah Rukh, it's just the way that he does it, it makes you feel कि हाँ ठीक है यार, cute ही है, you know. It makes you feel कि हाँ sweet, yeah, you know, but उसके दिल में कुछ नहीं है. You're trying to rationalize these things, हाँ. You're trying to rationalize these things, trying to tell yourself that no, your favorite superstar has not got it wrong, you know. Also, when these debates had started coming up a few years after Kuch Kuch Hota Hai released, we used to say that, oh, but you know, don't you take stupid decisions when you're in college, huh? You get a mushroom cut, and then you look at your pictures when you're like 15 years later, and like, my God, what the hell was I thinking? What was wrong with me? So, acknowledging that everything that you said is right, it is also important to see that people change. You know, a lot of times the person that you were, especially at 17, 18 in college, it's possible that you have had your own journey, you've had your own arc. So I'm not sure what true self really means, because we are all evolving. Was Anjali's true self the tomboy that she was, or is Anjali's true self the woman that she is today, or she could be a completely different person if you see her 15 years from now? That is the only thing that I feel is constantly evolving. I'm not sure if she became feminine in the memory of what Rahul would have liked, or she became feminine because she just enjoys it now, you know. And there is nothing wrong. Like, we have to not look at seeing traditionally women feminine things as necessarily bad, as long as the woman does it because she wants to do it. You know, if a woman chooses to be a homemaker, it is a choice. It does not mean that, oh, but you should be working. No, it's a choice. If a woman goes for Botox, her choice, right? So all of these are also choices. So I'm not sure if it's as easy to assume that she became what she became only to conform, but maybe it is subliminally, the subtext is that that's what the director eventually feels, that you have to be feminine. That's a possibility. But yeah, I feel that this whole casting thing, this whole cute ke naam pe, joke ke naam pe, you say something offensive, and then, you know, it's like you say something you're not sure of, and then you just put a smiley at the end of it in a chat, because you're like, you know what, I've said something, but I'm not sure. If you're offended, just look at that smiley instead. It's like that. Like, you just say something, and then you put a joke there. You tell Shah Rukh Khan, just smile, I'll focus on your dimples, and they're like, people are going to forget about it. So I agree with the things that you said, and I'm just glad that Karan Johar acknowledged it. It's one of the very few instances where I'm like, chalo, theek hai. At least the message has reached and received.
I agree with you, Aarti, what you said about a woman's right to choose. And that she could be sort of feminine typically if she wants to be. I think, if I remember Kuch Kuch Hota Hai correctly, which I might not, her feminization process begins when she's leaving Rani and Shah Rukh and going on that train in that salwar kameez suddenly. That tomboy who never wore a salwar kurta ends up in a white salwar kameez.
But I think it's also because somebody has died. I think her father has passed away, so she's wearing white.
I don't remember this. It's
His attention by being
well. I feel the messaging was very strong, that if you want to be the kind of woman that your hero falls in love with, you need to be feminine. And when she loses Shah Rukh, she loses her entire personality, basketball, whatever, her clothes, her style.
Yeah, and we never know what they studied in college, right? Like I really wanted to know कि इसने पढ़ाई की, इसने नौकरी वोकरी की. I never got. You never know what they are studying except Archana Puran Singh talking something amazing, Shakespearean and all of that happening. You have no clue what they studied. You have no idea what anybody is doing. You don't even know what Shah Rukh is doing, except for one stray line when he and Salman cross paths. He says something like some business line, it's just thrown away casually, and I'm like, everybody is just rich.
Advertising later. I
Yeah,
remember this.
acha. Is that everybody is rich, nobody has money problems, and you don't really know what they do, but you want to know. I'm like, what does he do to have that lifestyle, right? I want to do that.
This also runs across his other movie. I forget the name. Karishma Kapoor and
Yes, that
Madhuri
one.
Dixit. Exactly the same thing, you know.
And Madhuri Dixit. Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
Dil To Pagal.
Right.
That's Yash Chopra. You know, again, it's you know this tomboyish girl. That's Aditya Chopra. Yeah, that's Aditya Chopra.
But yeah, it was the 90s.
Several movies, you know, you give up, you fall in love with somebody, or you like someone, but then you prefer to get married to someone who's more quote unquote domestic.
ये मुझे याद है इस फिल्म से लड़की वो होती है जिसे माँ के सामने ले जाया जा सके.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the message of the 90s. I heard it loud and
Yeah,
clear.
yeah.
It still continues. The other movie again, I forget the name. Deepika Padukone.
Cocktail. Yeah. I was just going to talk about
Oh, yeah,
that.
it
I had
hasn't
a very
disappeared entirely at all. I wish I had. Yeah. Anyway, I'll call upon Akshat Kochar, please. Are you ready? We'll ask you why later. Come, go ahead.
Yes, hello. My name is Akshat, और मेरा topic was Mary Jane from Spider-Man in 2002. The only reason I found the character slightly problematic was why she was put in the screenplay, which was to show the human. Let me please finish. Let me please finish. The only reason she was put in the story was to show a human side of the primary character. आई मिली मतलब उसके खुद के कुछ एम्बिशंस थे, ड्रीम्स थे, बट शी वॉज मतलब वो कन्वीनियंटली कभी भी उस बारे में बात होती थी फिल्म में और कभी नहीं होती थी उस बारे में बात फिल्म में. एडिशनली एज अ कैरेक्टर शी वॉज प्लेस्ड एज अर आई कैंडी थ्रू आउट द फिल्म. वेन एवर द फिल्म नीडेड her, that's the only point she came into the story and exited, whereas she's being shown as the first true love for this Tobey Maguire character. Also, in the first act of the story, she's in a relationship with this guy called Flash Thompson, who she dumps for anonymous reasons in the background. Continuing, she's in a relationship with Harry Osborn, who she dumps only because Harry Osborn did not take a stand for her against his father. Continuing, she now is in love with Spider-Man as a superhero, but then she proposes to Peter Parker, who dumps her. The character did not get closure or an explanation to why she's behaving the way she's behaving at any point in the film. Additionally, in the film, there is just one sequence where we see that she has some problems with her father, but that is not addressed again anywhere in the film. Just to show that that problems exist with the character, they are shown, but no closure is given to them at any given point in the film. That was the only reason I took Mary Jane from 2002. If I were to improve the character, I would have. I believe the creators, as time evolved with the Spider-Man series, the creators also took into understanding the feminism and the ideas how the character should develop. So I believe the way Gwen Stacy was developed in Amazing Spider-Man series was the optimal way the character should have been, where she contributes to the story actively. She has her own dreams and passion and has an active decision making in the film. Yes, that's my case.
Yeah, that was Very nicely put. I think the minute you take away agency from a character, they become a passive character, what you call. And like as writers, like I think the number one rule is do not write a passive character, write an active character, someone who is making their own choices, someone who basically has, like you can tell that they have a brain, that they have thoughts in their brain, and that they are able to take action on those and impact not just their lives, but the lives of those around them as well. And I think, what you summed up beautifully was that with Mary Jane, we don't know why we don't know why Peter Parker or even Harry Osborn, who are the two, kind of male characters in the film, why do they like her? Like, besides the fact that she's a pretty face, why do they like her? And I think it comes back to this trope of just, there's so many movies where, like, the girl will take off her glasses and then all the men will notice her. Or, she'll wear a short skirt and suddenly now people see her. Earlier, they never saw her and they never even considered her for anything. So it's just like you're judging someone based on just how they look, which is honestly like the way you're born. I mean, yeah, you can groom yourself a little bit, but it has nothing to do with just who you are. And it's just a very problematic way of showing. And you're right, like we did kind of get a glimpse of, oh, she has trouble at home. Maybe she wants something that she's not getting, but we don't go deep into that at any point. She conveniently crops up as a foil to what the male character, Spider-Man, is thinking. And, she's kind of just there to service his track. And I think when you watch the new Spider-Man, like with Zendaya now, I think it's evolved very nicely. And, she is a well-rounded, powerful, strong character. So they have corrected that. But I think absolutely you're right, and that when you go back to what she used to be, she's just like a pretty face and nothing else. And more than that, I think she embodies the damsel in distress trope, which is, oh, I need saving, which is also like Isabella Swan from Twilight. Like, why does she need these men to save her? Why can't she, like, what is the problem? It's just like her presence is not justified without these men in her life. So yeah, I think you summed it up really well, and it is a very enraging topic, but hopefully we'll get better at it.
Thank you. I want to ask you one quick question. I don't know, the subsequent Spider-Man films, who's written them? Are they women, right? Like, what do you think has solved or bettered the problem? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like we live in a beautiful era of social media where, it's hard to get away with these films. Like, you will get trolled, you will get it's hard to run away from the consequences, which I guess is a good thing. And I'm guessing like just studio pressure and just the criticism of it, because it was just not, a well-rounded character overall. And I think beyond a point now, even our actors, like, thankfully are becoming more selective about, they don't want to play roles that are very, that don't jump off the page, or when they know that, oh, I'm just servicing somebody else. Like earlier you had the days where, people would play the lead role, the lead male and the lead female. But now you see actors are willing to play even, a smaller, less traditional role, as long as it has like a proper arc and there is a purpose. Even if your role is like 2 minutes in a movie, you can justify it completely, and that's like the beauty of good writing.
You're absolutely
And
right.
so I think we have come a long way, and with the Spider-Man series itself, like if you go back and see, it is very problematic. Even Harry Osborn, we show him as this like really very good looking but like very like rich and spoiled brat who James Franco plays, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, he's endearing, like he's the cool guy, like she wants to be with him, but what is there beyond him, like in his personality? There's actually nothing. He's actually quite disrespectful to her, which is why she dumps him. But it took her a while to get there. So I think we need to be better at having our women be intelligent and just like very active characters with agency. And we're getting there, thankfully, but it's still a long way to go.
Thank you, Yashna. Next up we have Vatsa Sharma, please.
Good evening, everybody. So the character that I chose or found problematic is Aisha Mehra from Dil Dhadakne Do, because she's financially very independent. She's very strong and she's very decisive when she has to make decisions for her career. But when it comes to decision making in her personal life, she doesn't speak up for herself. She's always trying to protect her father's reputation because of the societal pressure. Even if we see when it comes to, she could have spoken up against her father, I don't want to get married to a man, I want to study. Or even when she is in an unhappy marriage, she's financially independent, so she could have gotten out of it but she doesn't. She still stays in it. And in the end, we can see when her father sees that she's been treated very badly and her father approves of the divorce. That's when she's confident that, okay, I'll get a divorce. But before that, she wasn't confident enough to do that. So I feel somewhere down the line, she should have been more confident in her personal life decision, like she was confident about her career. So that's what I found a bit problematic. So yeah.
Thank you, Vatsa. It's also an interesting choice of film because Dil Dhadakne Do is actually a very, it's quite new and it's recent and it's a quite a woke film actually. It's got some very modern, well-rounded relationships and it's written by a woman. It is written by her, right? Yeah. And Rima, is that it? Okay, yeah. So an interesting choice, and I do agree with you on what you said about how she doesn't have, even in the end, when her father tells her that she can divorce the husband she so desperately detests, it's then that she decides to act and sort of pick it up again with Farhan's character. I have a minor difference of opinion from you for the earlier part, though. I think it's okay that I see that she's a woman who needs validation and approval constantly. Even though she's independent, even though she's beautiful, she has everything going for her, she can't make a decision for herself. Some very big decisions. The only thing I think she does is she's on birth control secretly, but that is in secret. She can't stand up. And I think that the film tells me that it comes from her being raised in a family where there's no framework of a woman standing up for herself. Her mother doesn't stand up for her mother doesn't stand up for herself, so she grows up being this kind of pushover or approval seeker. So I'm okay with that character. But I want to see an arc for this character, and that's where you're right, Dil Dhadakne Do disappoints me a little bit. The final moment of the character is almost, it reminds me of Ja Simran जी ले अपनी ज़िंदगी. मतलब जब तक पापा उसको नहीं बोलते हैं that you are allowed to do this, to take this very vital step to have a life of your own, तब तक वो नहीं लेती है. So I wish even Farhan's so the men sort of, they grow, and Priyanka's character merely does the thing she always wanted to do from the word go when the men allow her to do it. I fully agree. I wish she were way more active, even if she's an approval seeker, if she'd had some personal arc of her own, a moment of revelation, which she doesn't have, unfortunately. Yeah, thank you very much. But lots of Dil Dhadakne Do lovers in the room, I see.
You know, if I
With
may,
good
oh, I'm so
reason.
sorry.
Go ahead.
If I may add, like the thing about this movie is it's a satire, and so I think the tone, what they've got is very right, in that you can't really, you know, all your points are like valid and well taken, but I think that was like the intention. They intentionally crafted the character in that way to kind of show that this is the reality. So I think because it's a satire and it's so nicely done, its purpose is basically to shine a light on, you know, on the problems of the society. And I think that's the one thing that I would really commend them on just getting all of that right. Not to disagree with your points, like what you're saying is valid, but I think it's important to keep in context just like the tone of the film.
Interesting point. You're right. I mean, I don't know if I'd agree that it's a satire, but it's obviously they're shining a light on the warped world of the super privileged, the super wealthy, etc. So it is that. But I feel that the emotions are real. Like Ranveer's love for his romantic partner, that you feel for that love, right? He loves her. He needs to be with her. He jumped in the ocean. So why are we belittling Priyanka's growing up? If that is the case, yeah, please go ahead.
I also, sorry, I also feel that Priyanka's character, like Aisha Mehra, like she's pretty aware, like despite all the conditioning and everything, na, she's pretty aware about these ideas about equality. Like I really enjoy that scene where सारी चाचियाँ वगैरह बैठी हुई होती हैं and they're already I think on the ship and they're discussing कि इसकी शादी उससे कर देते हैं and ये कर लेते हैं and she's like get a job and how they respond to it ना कि अरे हमें कौन काम देगा. So I think मतलब मुझे लगता है बहुत self-aware characters तो हैं, like even the discussion where I think Farhan's character tell Rahul Bose's character ना कि why she needs your permission. हाँ मतलब why she needs your permission. और मतलब अगर आप वापस रिविजिट करोगे, मैंने काफ़ी चाटी हुई है वो, तो इसलिए मैं बस बोल रही हूँ. तो अगर आप रिविजिट करोगे उस सीन में, द मिनट आई थिंक all I'm trying to say is that I think the filmmakers were aware of the path that they are treading on, है
I
ना?
would expect that, but I do feel that Priyanka's character is cheated out of that big scene. It's Anil Kapoor's scene.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
He stands up for her,
Hmm.
it's his scene. Where's her big scene?
Yeah, yeah,
She doesn't
yeah,
have one.
yes.
She jumps on the board and asks Farhan मेरे wait करने का.
Yeah.
And then he says, हाँ मैं करूँगा. That's his moment.
Correct.
That's her moment.
Correct.
So
I think
it's a complex film. There's got many layers, but on
yeah.
this one thing, and Priyanka's a great actress. They could have given her a moment of her own.
हाँ, I think वो टेनिस खेलते हुए ही सारा गुस्सा निकाल दिया उनका, how what she's feeling, and yeah.
But you know what? I will defend the film here. I mean, I'm a big Zoya Akhtar fan, but not because of that. But the thing is, because Zoya is also accused of telling stories of the super rich, right? So generally, we understand that women in that strata of society are very empowered. So it was sort of okay to see that Priyanka's character is not, in spite of having money, a rich father, and everything going her way, a brother who's also supportive, she could still be like that. So I think that if it didn't end well, then of course that was a problem. The thing is, we stay in a patriarchal society, right? I'm patriarchal, you're patriarchal, all of us are. I mean, none of us can claim that we are completely feminist, right? In different capacity, all of us are. And I feel that character was problematic like that, and that's what Zoya and Reema were trying to highlight. That
That's true. Then is there a way to have given her a moment with with another woman, with herself, in which she
Yeah.
would have her big moment?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the work as well, for the
Yeah.
most part. But now that I rethink it,
I'm also
because of this
thinking. I'm also thinking
presentation,
actually.
I
I'm
don't-
not saying I have a
is
definite
she
opinion on the
slightly
film.
shortchanged
Yeah.
of what other actors got, and
Hmm.
perhaps the answer is yes. I'm leaning towards a yes,
Hmm.
but again, I'm not sure.
I wonder if she needed that big moment, because I think throughout she had these moments that we knew clearly who she was. We knew what her conflicts were. We knew what she was kind of up against. And so, yeah, I mean, just to challenge what you're saying, like, I wonder if she kind of needed that redemption, because we're actually with her from the start. And, you know, we're rooting for her from the beginning. We want her to succeed. We want her to kind of defeat the system that she's in. And so, yeah, to me, like, I don't think that was required. Like, yes, for every other character, but for her, we, like, from the very beginning, like, we kind of were clear. So I would go a step further and say maybe she didn't need one.
It's possible. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Let's move on to Arav Trivedi.
Hello, good evening, everybody. So the character I wrote about was from Dil Dhadkne Do only. So it was Neelam Mehra, Aisha's mother. So one thing I felt problematic was that she never supported Aisha in anything, like why, when she was asking for a divorce. And I felt that at that point of time you expect your parents support the most. And when she tells her mother that, Aisha tells Neelam that even you are going through the same stuff which I'm going through, why didn't you stand up? And she has no answer. So that is what, though she gets a redemption in the end somewhere, but I still feel that that is something problematic, because if she was headstrong since the beginning, if she supported Aisha, and then perhaps that whole thing wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have suffered so much, and she herself, Neelam herself, wouldn't have gone through the trauma which she went, like eating cake alone. Like that scene really was disturbing, because she had gone through a lot and she couldn't say anything. So I felt that was problematic. And even the mother-in-law, Aisha's mother-in-law was also something which I felt problematic, because she knew everything is wrong, but she was still supporting her son, because she was told that way. Like she was told that मैं नहीं बोलती हूँ उनके सामने, and so that was something which I didn't like in the film. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like all of us here, I'm a big Zoya fan and I love Dil Dhadakne Do. But I feel that it's a little important to understand the difference between a flawed character and a problematic character. I think it's a nuance, and sometimes the differentiation is very, very blurred. While I feel some characters are definitely objectively problematic, like you have Kabir Singh, right? It's very hard to argue for the character and the way he has been treated. I feel Neelam Mehra's character is more flawed than problematic in that sense. She is, like all of us, a factor of our upbringing. And I think that Zoya and Reema have deliberately written her the way they did because, you know, in every generation you require one person who will break the chain. In their family, it's not Neelam. It is going to be her daughter, right? So it is important to understand context and see where characters are coming from. And I think intent is the difference between everything. I feel that what Zoya and Reema did with the writing was you always understood where she comes from. When she's stress eating that cake, your heart breaks because you know that she has nobody she can talk to. She knows her husband is cheating on her. She knows she should have left him long ago. But she's not able to do it. And you know, very often, sometimes, and this is, I think it's a great way to see a flawed mother too, that she felt, I did not have that choice. My daughter is not going to have that choice either. You know, and she does not realize that she can help her to break out of it. It's not always necessary that you are going to find that kind of support in your parents. It may not be ideal, but it's just how it is. What she does not find in her mother, she finds in Sunny, which is Farhan's character. You know, so I think that everything that you said is what ideally we would have expected a mother to do. But it's a film, by creating uncomfortable situations, it is trying to throw light in places that we never see it, right? Like, I feel even Schitt's Creek does that really well. When they enter the world through a very privileged perspective, where I remember, like, there are so many gems all across the show where someone just says that, oh, I had got us, you know, Ted, who is Alexis's boyfriend, says, I had booked us on an all-inclusive package. And she's like, what's an all-inclusive package? She doesn't know this. She has never been on budget, middle-class things, right? But it is, if it was not the super rich, wealthy, and you're entering the world from their perspective, we wouldn't have been able to see the way we see things. I feel that's the beauty of Dil Dhadakne Do too. You know, if they were not super privileged, wealthy, and to say that actually problems सबको same ही होती है. You know, people who don't belong to that strata feel, इनको क्या है? You know, they have money, they seem really happy, but they have the same issues. You know, whether it's a daddy issue, mommy issue, sibling issue, it's the same thing everywhere. So I think it was
with the patriarchy, and
yeah.
it exists even for the super wealthy and the very privileged.
Yeah.
The gender roles don't change with economic status.
So that's why I feel that the nuance between problematic and flawed, I feel she's more flawed. And secondly, I think the intent of the filmmakers makes all the difference. She is not trying to redeem either Kamal Mehra, which is Anil's character, or Neelam Mehra by saying that this is the ideal relationship or that she should stay in it or she should not. You always understand where they come from. And I think that's extremely important, which is why her writing and direction for me stands out. That even characters that are despicable, you at least see where they come from. You can still keep disliking them, but you see where they come from. And I think that's really important.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think all the characters, the smallest of the characters to the primary characters, they all have arcs, which is also very, very important. Like the guy who plays छोटा भाई, मतलब जो चाचा जी होते हैं, है ना, मतलब वो भी all along कि अरे इन्होंने अपनी कंपनी में इनको मतलब कुछ काम दे दिया और ये भाई, बड़े भाई के टुकड़ों पे he might comes across, I don't remember the character's name, but I hope you have the image in your head, अगर आप लोगों ने भी इतनी बारी देखी है तो. And जब वो लोग सब छलांग लगा रहे होते हैं in the sea, वो बोलता है कि यार तू बिजनेस संभाल लेना भाई, and he's like भैया मैं खड़े रहूँगा. And it just tells you कि इनका relationship यही है कि I don't know, मतलब अगर mythology का example quote करूँ, but वो राम हनुमान, राम लक्ष्मण वाला relationship है उनका, और वो एकदम से आपको और कुछ समझने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, वो आपको convey कर दिया. And I think that's also what Zoya and Reema, they actively do. Like even in Gully Boy with Alia's character, like मतलब उनकी presence बहुत कम है in the film, but yet you are fully with her, you understand her background, कहाँ से आई है, कितना घर पे क्या हालात हैं, मतलब डॉक्टर की बेटी है, but मम्मी मतलब literally ऐसे सरल भाषा में बोले तो पेल देती हैं यार छोटी छोटी बातों पे, है ना. और एंड येट उसको डॉक्टर बनना है, वो बहुत फाइस्टी है, बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है वो. एंड यू वीर सिंह का जो कैरेक्टर है, मुराद का जो कैरेक्टर है, वो इससे प्यार करता है ना. और ये इतनी स्ट्रॉन्ग लड़की जो मतलब एक सर्टेन तरह से रह रही है, हम घर भी देख रहे हैं, उसका हाउस होल्ड देख रहे हैं, वो क्या एस्पिरेशंस है वो सब भी देख रहे हैं. और वो मुराद से प्यार करती है ना, तो अपने आप आपका जो प्रोटैगनिस्ट है ना, वो हीरो हो जाता है कि ओ गॉड, ये लड़की जो जिसके जैसे मैं बनना चाहती हूँ, ये ऐसे लड़के को चूज कर रही है. ओके, विद मुराद, आई Murad. And I think this is also a way that we can मतलब वही enabling वाली चीज़ ही है ये कि बारे में क्या क्या कहा जाता है. So yeah.
I'm happy you said that because usually it's a guy's character, a male character, who just spots an ordinary woman and says she's the one, and then the audience is expected to believe she's a special girl because the hero saw something special in her. हालांकि हमें कुछ बताते नहीं उसमें क्या special है, but वो hero को पसंद आ गई बस. So I'm happy.
Promotion.
हाँ, exactly. उस तरह की. Correct. Anyway, let's get on with Roshni Sanghavi, please.
Hi guys, मेरा नाम रोशनी है and I have been a film lover since my childhood. और मुझे पता है बहुत सारी problematic films हैं, लेकिन जब आशिकी 2 आई थी मैं बहुत छोटी थी और मुझे भी वो बहुत अच्छी लगी थी. I was like, damn, this is like the एकदम romantic story and everything. But जब मैं अब सोचती हूँ तो लगता है कि यार what was I thinking? But maybe still I was a kid and nobody educated me, neither my parents. It's not that it's their fault or something like that, but even my friends, even my cousin who was elder to me, she was like, you have to watch this film, this is so good and all. तो मैं पहले ऑफ स्क्रीन women की बात करना चाहूँगी because I think off screen women matter more than on screen. So like people say कि we have come a long way. But actually जब पुराने ज़माने में भी like queens like अहिल्या बाई होलकर and रानी लक्ष्मीबाई, nobody talks about them. Like अहिल्या बाई होलकर ने एक वॉर नहीं लड़ा था पूरे लाइफ टाइम में जब वो रानी बन के वो रूल कर रही थी किंगडम. She was so witty and मतलब nobody talks about them. And one thing, एक फिल्म जो मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगी थी, it was मर्दानी. बट यार टाइटल में ही मार खा दी ना. मर्दानी में क्या है, क्यों औरत के नाम से नहीं बन सकती क्या फिल्म, टाइटल क्यों नहीं बन सकता. सो दैट्स देयर. एंड सो इन आशिकी 2 लाइक जैसे आरोही का कैरेक्टर दिखाया जाता है, लाइक शी इज़ अ बार सिंगर एंड उसको खुद पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं होता है. लाइक क्यों नहीं होता है. अभी राहुल जयकर उसको आके बोलेगा नहीं कि तू सिंगर बन सकती है, तो वो क्या खुद में बिलीव नहीं कर सकती. तो मेरा पॉइंट ये है. और फिर उनको प्यार हो जाता है, पता नहीं कैसे, थोड़ी मुलाकातों में, थोड़ी ट्रेनिंग सेशंस के बाद उनको प्यार हो जाता है. एंड देन दे आर लाइक कि लेट्स लिव टुगेदर. एंड देन शी कम्स टू नो अबाउट हिज वीकनेस, दैट इज़ ही इज़ एडिक्टेड टू अल्कोहल. And she tries to an extent when she is burnt out. She gives her all to fulfill his dreams, his likings, and she wants to give everything just to survive in the relationship. So for me, that's a very flawed idea of a relationship. And more than anything, Bollywood को self love promote करना चाहिए यार. And दैट्स वेयर रांझना का भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगा. तो मेरा ये टेक है. एंड देर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ अब्यूज़ शोन इन द मूवी, even physical as well as mental as well as emotional. And there's this one dialogue towards the end of the film when Arohi says that मैंने सब कुछ ट्राई कर लिया बट अब जो वो अल्कोहल नहीं छोड़ सकता है, तो मैं उसके साथ गिरती पड़ती रहूँगी सड़कों पे नशे में धुत. एंड दिस जस्ट मेक्स मी थिंक कि कौन है भाई राइटर, क्यों ऐसे लिखा है. एंड दिस सॉन्ग हम मर जाएंगे जो सबका फेवरेट रहा है वो फिल्म से, पीपल जैमिंग टू इट, इट जस्ट मेक्स मी थिंक लाइक क्यों. मतलब इवन व्हेन आई टॉक टू माई फ्रेंड्स हु आर नॉट मास मीडिया स्टूडेंट्स, they are like, I remember one of my friend was like from the theater, she just came and she told me ki Kabir Singh dekh yaar, it's such a good movie. I hadn't watched it then, but now I realize how problematic my own friends are. So मैं कहीं पे भी जाती हूँ, मैं सबको एजुकेट करती हूँ, एंड पीपल जस्ट आर लाइक कि यार ये कितनी फेमिनिस्ट है, ये कितना बोलती है, एंड क्यों नहीं बोलना चाहिए? व्हाई आर पीपल नॉट एंग्री अबाउट दिस? आई मीन आई सी women, they are just tolerating, they are just in their own bubble and thinking that हाँ वो मेरा बॉयफ्रेंड है या वो मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड है. दिस इज़ फ्रॉम माई पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस. मैं ट्रेन्स में ट्रैवल करती हूँ, बसेस में ट्रैवल करती हूँ. आई सी women who cry on phones talking to their boyfriends, and I'm like, damn, what is wrong? Why do you choose men who not choose you, who do not choose you? If he's not investing in you, why is that necessary that you give your all just to sacrifice? And it's not your aim that you are born into this life to sacrifice for some man, yaar. So, yeah, मैं इस पे बहुत बात कर सकती हूँ, बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा. बट मेरा टेक ये होगा, अगर आशिकी 2 वापस बने किसी और एंगल से, तो आई वुड लाइक कि आरोही अपने सेल्फ डिस्कवरी के जर्नी में जाए, वो पॉडकास्ट सुने कुछ रिलेशनशिप्स की, वो खुद को काउंसिल करे, थेरेपिस्ट के पास जाए, और राहुल को भी भेजे यार थेरेपिस्ट के पास. और वो सॉलिट्यूड क्यों नहीं एंजॉय कर सकती? लाइक आई एम अ लोनर बट आई एंजॉय टॉकिंग टू पीपल. इट्स नॉट लाइक एक्सट्रोवर्ट होना ज़रूरी है या कुछ, बट यू नो सॉलिट्यूड इज़ अ डिफरेंट थिंग इन, मतलब even self love and self respect is very important to show on screen. I think that, and yeah, she could also learn from nature. मतलब वो nature में time spend करेगी. Even animals यार, वो लोग भी अपने female animals को कितना respect करते हैं, and they just जहाँ पे भी females lead करते हैं ना यार, सब कुछ सही होता है, सच्ची.
Thank you, Roshni.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm happy to see that you are angry. I think anger is an underrated emotion when you are the wrong party. I'm happy to see that you're angry. And I'm happy to see you stressing on stories of women. I hope you will go on to write them because we don't have enough. I'll let you take that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, like Suhani said, it's it's a productive anger. It's not like Kabir Singh's anger, which is complete waste. This is the right angst to have, because and the big thing what you said is when the film came out, you liked it, and then later on you had a change of heart, and now you see the film for what it is, because you're questioning society. That's most important. That is, when we see film, we need to question society and where it is placed and how it impacts us, because films have that kind. It's a powerful medium that it changes, it impacts people, right? It impacts culture, it impacts pop culture especially. So thank you for your anger and for all the other inputs you said. The only thing I would say, you did a very good analysis of Arohi's character. The only yeah. No, it was really well done. The only thing I would say is, you say at the start that why she is underconfident and why does she need Rahul for that support. See, love can also be a very empowering thing. So we don't need to question everything कि नहीं हम लड़कियां हम सब कर लेंगे. That's not feminism. Feminism means an equal society. So even if Rahul is supporting her, there is nothing wrong with that. The fact that she loses her agency, I saw the bits of film because I had seen long back, and I also went to theatre and I saw it alone. And I was just surrounded with like teenagers and 20-year-olds who were like clapping and they were crying, and I was like, ye kya ho raha hai? You know, I was lost that time. But what you're feeling right now, I also felt that time. But it's not that Rahul supporting her is the issue. The fact that the first time he meets her, he tells her, kal se tum bar mein kaam nahi karogi. He tells her. He doesn't ask her. That is the problem. And the movie goes in that direction then. So that is the issue, that he takes away her agency completely, and वो सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के she is like completely in love with like, like I said, love can be a very empowering thing for both the characters, for men, women, irrespective of your gender. But it should be supportive. It should not take away your voice, your personality. Yeah, that's also because society tells, that's why that's also projected in our cinemas, that hame sacrifice karna hai. And generally people say that relationship is about, marriage is about sacrifice, but generally what they mean is it should come from the women's side. So that's the problem. It has to be, if it is a compromise, which is a very tacky word to define something as beautiful as love, but it should be from both sides. It shouldn't be कि एक person सब sacrifice कर रहा है and the other person is having their say. So, yeah, please go.
Go ahead.
ये हम लोग ऐसे हंस हंस के बात कर रहे हैं and all, but seriously, I just want all of you to take back this at home and maybe check on yourself. Like अगर कभी तुम्हारे पापा और तुम बैठ के अपनी मॉम के पीछे जोक्स बना रहे हो तो भाई थोड़ा चेक कर लो खुद का क्या टेक है. And for men, I would just like to support, advise or suggest that अगर मतलब तुम भी feminist हो सकते हो. Like I have not come across many men who are vocal about feminism. So ये तुमको नहीं चाहिए क्या यार तुम्हारी बहन तुम्हारी माँ भी अपना खुद को ढूंढे, खुद की उनकी लाइफ हो पर्सनल. So yeah, I just want that. And for women, I feel कि भाई हम बहनें हैं सारी, तो एक दूसरे को support करो, jealous मत हो एक दूसरे से. Thank you.
Very well said, Roshni. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll do questions after the last presentation, which is now. Amaya, Kenny, will you come up, please?
Well, thank you for selecting me and thank you for checking what I have written. So the character that I have taken is from the film A Few Good Men, which has been written by a renowned screenwriter Aaron Sorkin, who everybody who writes respects, because I mean Aaron Sorkin is a great writer and I respect him. But for the character of Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway in this film, I feel that he doesn't do justice for the themes that she stands for. Now, just to put in context about what the film A Few Good Men is about, the film A Few Good Men is about is about the army, and it's about the military and how there is a death and it's all about an investigation, and there's a courtroom scene which is an important part. But coming back to her character, which is important because she is shown as the female, she's shown as the sole female lead in the film. But for some reason, it seems like she's overshadowed by the other male protagonists, and it's because her character stands how much injustice women have to face in the military, and how much it treats them differently than it is for men. But for some reason, her portrayal, who's portrayed by the actress Demi Moore, seems like she's just a stereotypical confidence-lacking woman who's often outsmarted and outdone by her male colleague Kathy, who's played by Tom Cruise. And she's often even made fun of by other characters in the film, which she rarely stands up to. And I mean, she just takes it. And even while watching the movie, it kept torturing me that why? I mean, I like how the thing started with discussing Kantara, because Kantara is a critically acclaimed film. So and so is this. But like you said, ma'am, that when if a certain character is like how in Kantara the female character is shown, and it just puts you off completely. The same thing happened to me here. What I would do to reimagine this character is that now I am nobody to say what a woman should be, I'm nobody to say, how this person should behave. But according to the context in the story, I would say that it would be much better if she could be more self-confident and she could be more tough and not just, somebody who takes shit from her colleagues. There's often times when she's insulted by her male colleagues and she does not stand up to that. And there's this important case in the film which in the end they win. Our protagonists win and the villain is sent into jail, and and all the credit goes to our male protagonist Tom Cruise, while Joanne is just left behind as just one of the few good men, and she is given no 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 justice, no credit, no nothing. She's just like standing behind him. So and I would say that if she could, if the way her character is shown in the movie, um, I would like if she would be somebody who would have more character development, because it just doesn't feel right that somebody who has gone through so much is just amounted to basically just a normal woman. It doesn't feel like, not even a normal woman. She's just not. She just seems, I don't want to use the word weak, but she doesn't seem like she has been through the struggles, that she has seen the injustice. Maybe that's in the portrayal, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Amaya. Before I give it over to Yashna to take that, I do want to say you said I am no one to comment on what a woman should be, and this, for me, this asks the question: who has a right to write which character? And I'm not discounting that you have to have a certain amount of lived experience in order to comment on or what a character is, or should be, or can, or will react as. But if you do your research, if you put in the hours and you put in the work and develop that empathy, men can write women, women can write men, and we can write people that are differently abled from us, different from us. So I don't want to draw a hard line over there. It's just that we need to work harder to understand someone who is not exactly like us.
True.
It's possible. Go ahead.
This film called Joyland. It's a Pakistani film which is going for Oscars. It's written by a guy, directed by a guy. It's the most feminist, most empowering film I've seen in a while. And it has, it has a male protagonist. To watch the film for what it says and does. It's excellent and written by a guy. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Amaya. First of all, I've already I read your thing, and some of the points that you made were pretty valid. Although I have minor difference of opinion here. Like when the film starts, आपने recently देखी है film? या हो गया कुछ समय, कुछ हो गया time. But bother तो किया आपको काफी. The character in itself है ना. What we can also discuss that at length, and आप लोग भी contribute कर सकते हैं. I think when the film opens, it's Demi Moore's character जो case लेके जाता है कि we have to present it. They take up the file and they ask her to go take a break, and she's like, no, I want to be in the room. And they're like, नहीं जा तू coffee पी के आ, हम बात कर लेंगे आपस में. And then there are all men, the senior officers, they actually make discussions ki whether she'll be able to handle it or not. She really wants to pursue the case, as in be the lawyer on the case. And they call in कि नहीं, she won't be able to do it by herself. तो हम और लोगों को बुलाते हैं, which is when your Tom Cruise and his associate comes, है ना, on board. अब मतलब now understand this. हम already, like when this happened, I felt very bad कि हाँ ये क्या कर रहे हैं, मतलब उसने पूरा मेहनत किया है, उसको बाहर भेज दिया. But this is also some part of reality that there is, है ना, how discussions happen in a room, how I think that's what the idea was कि वो यही feel कराना चाह रहे थे कि ये इतनी weak क्यों है, गई क्यों बाहर. But that's how it is कि आपने पूरी जान लगा के 6 महीने से आप ही ने रिसर्च किया होगा इस चीज़ पे. बट फाइनल कॉल हम लेंगे कि आप ये परस्यू कर सकते हो कि नहीं. मैंने अभी सुना 10 मिनट, शायद 3 मिनट ही सुनी मैंने आपने जो भी मुझे बात बताई, फिर भी मैं ये कॉल लूँगा कि आप ये परस्यू कर सकती हैं कि नहीं कर सकती हैं. Cut to Tom Cruise with his Tom Cruise avatar and all of that. And मतलब वही बड़े बाप का बिगड़ा शहजादा, उसको कुछ काम करना नहीं है. He is like कि क्यों लूँ. And again she's the one who steps in and she tells them कि I really feel very strongly for these men. मतलब they are all army officers and we sleep peacefully because they say that they are protecting us. Which is why I really want this case, you to pursue this case properly. So understand this. वो अगर weak होती तो जब उसको बोला कि हम इस केस पे डिस्कशन करेंगे, तू नहीं कर रही है, वो चली जाती. वो नहीं गई. उसने बोला ठीक है आप लेकर आओ दूसरे, जिसको भी आपको लेकर आना है आप लेकर आओ, मैं रहूँगी यहाँ पे. मैं उसे कन्विंस करूँगी कि तू ढंग से काम कर भाई, क्या कर रहा है. You know, I know at some point it becomes a towards the latter half, but I think with so much is happening, and if you guys know how Mr. Sorkin writes, he delves into it and he just gets up when the writing is over. So sometimes he finds the character in the process, sometimes he has some ideas, but मतलब वो तो खैर काफ़ी लेजेंड चीज़ है जो वो करने की कोशिश करते हैं. बट माई पॉइंट इज़ मतलब आप बहस भी कर सकते हो. हाँ मुझसे मैं
Yeah, ma'am, I was just wanted to say that, you know, I mean, it is established in the film, right? There are a lot of instances, like there's one scene when they meet Jack Nicholson for the first time and he just calls her an object. And just, you know, the woman should have sex with the higher officials so that, you know, they can promote.
So now understand,
That's what he accuses her of.
Yes, yes, yes.
But she's not that way.
Of course.
And you know, the thing is that these things are there, right? These things are established in this story by Mr. Sorkin. But ma'am, if you observe, they don't go anywhere. Like they don't have an effect on her character. She just seems suppressed, you know, and she doesn't ever speak out about it. Even in the end of the film, like I mentioned, right? She's just standing at the back.
So what would you see? Maybe his idea as a writer was to make you feel all these emotions. कि ऐसे कैसे बात कर रहा है यार? मतलब she has a she has a head over her shoulders. मतलब she's responsible, she's committed to her work, she's super sincere, maybe much more than you or whatever you're becoming or you are. And है ना, तो maybe he just wanted to touch upon these trigger points of yours. And उसका outcome आप क्या चाहते थे? आप क्या चाहते थे? क्या moment हो सकता था?
Ma'am, I actually, like, if I were to write this kind of character, right, I would kind of show her to be more, not exactly tough, but I would show her not easily to open up. Because, I mean, if let's say, if I were to put myself, like, even I act, right, so if I were to portray that character, now I can't say I can look at the character from a woman's lens, but let's say,
let's look at her character from a gender neutral point of view कि लड़का लड़की कोई भी perform कर सकते थे.
I would say she'd take more time to, you know, even trust Tom Cruise that this guy can, and she does at the start, but सब बीच में it's just like okay. I mean, you know, and it's like I would take more time for her to open up and to, you know, to trust her colleagues, because obviously she has seen how, you know, men in the army are, and you know how they see her.
Although I would still say, like I come from a defense family, I would still say that you know, in my opinion, her presence in the room, and despite all hardships, you know, these are all the hardships. How the seniors are talking to you, कि अरे आ गई हैं आप, आइए बैठिए, you know, the way they're, मैं कर रही हूँ यार ये सब, it's an English film, तो but despite all of that, so understand her dilemma, है ना, she's taking up all of this, ये सब भी सह रही है, अपने काम में भी अव्वल है ना, दूसरी को भी बता रही है कि तू अपने काम में अव्वल हो जा भाई, क्योंकि हमें वो उनके लिए करना है on behalf of someone. And I think yeah, मतलब that's how हाँ, it conveys strength more than, मतलब I don't look at her as a weak character.
And draws your attention to the sexism of the workplace that she's inhabiting, so, which is a good thing. I mean, so we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I think Sorkin's intention was to show the misogyny and sexism at workplace. he wasn't showing that he's this a weak character.
Ma'am, I agree with you, right? I mean, it is established in the film that, this character has gone through these things, but I felt it didn't affect like how she looked at the world. Like, I don't know, maybe that's the thing about how Demi Moore portrayed it, but it just, I just felt like the way the character was portrayed, it didn't affect her. She was just acting as just not somebody who has gone through these hardships. I personally felt that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I see your point too. Thank you very
It
much.
is good that it affects you. That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are very glad for it, all of us. Thanks. And I want to thank everyone for this conversation. It's been illuminating. Thank you. Does anyone want to make a quick closing point? I will, if there's something that you want to say. I think we've said everything as the presentations have been coming. Do we have time for any questions? Yeah, okay, we do. Let's go. You've been waiting for a very long time. Let's start with you. Do I need to pass the mic?
So, my question, it's not exactly a question, more of a, more of an, like what I have observed generally is that when all of these problematic characters, female characters are written, I feel they're written from a perspective wherein there's a lot of societal pressure on women to fix something, be it the situation, be it the man. मतलब वो फिक्सेशन वाला है ना कि यू द फिक्सेशन टूल इन द सोसाइटी, तो मतलब अपना कुछ है ही नहीं. अगर मैं इस रिलेशनशिप में भी इफ आई एम नॉट हैप्पी, लेट्स से द एग्जांपल ऑफ Ranjana, okay, she was not in love with Kundan, she did not like the guy as such, but as soon as वो जो एक उसका सीन है ना when she's going to school with her classmates and teacher, अब वो आके अपनी wrist slit करता है, she automatically hugs him, and I'm like वो sympathy point आ जाता है ना कि यार इसको fix करना है, and that is all it starts from, I feel. मतलब that or the parental factor of course. So that is why I feel, yeah, that is why I feel those writers are, मतलब they write from this perspective, but audience at times, मतलब वो फिर if you're writing something from this perspective, then the male character has to be somebody who's more understanding of it. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, this huge flyer. Thank you. I feel I agree with you. You're saying वो जो a woman can make a house into a home. ये नहीं चाहिए हमें ये pressure. We cannot make anything into anything else. We are just busy self-actualizing. So yeah, we're not the healing process, the healing presence in everything. Thank you.
So I actually have multiple questions. They first start with, all right. So the first question goes, so in the past, the problem was that we actually had an idealistic approach as to how a woman was, and we used to depict that in movies. And everybody who's actually come there and who's actually said about what they wanted to change is something that they feel a woman should be like, which actually makes no sense to me because it makes no sense to the character. The character was the way it was, and making any change to the character based on what you feel an ideal woman is just repeating the past. So what exactly are we changing here is the first question. All right. Then okay, another thing is we're looking for equality, correct? So the first thing is I believe equality is a myth. Even though we all are born equal, as we grow based on what we learn, based on where we actually are very different people. So equality is not something that can exist. We actually have to find a balance between the way things are between men and women. So that is one thing I want your opinion about. What do you think about that? Other than that, so there was something that you had stated that validation is actually fine for a woman, and the discussion had started with independence, that a woman should be independent. So how exactly a woman is going to be independent if she's going to seek validation from other people? The part where Dil Dhadakne Do, and you said that it's okay for a woman to seek validation, but why exactly? So if you're talking about, all right, can I just say the last line? I'm extremely sorry, but there was a statement made here that female lead movies are way better, which I find personally very offending. But
Who said that?
there was a statement made. I really don't want to take a name. No, it won't actually forward the conversation anywhere. So I really don't want to take the name. Um, okay, so this was the statement made actually that women lead films are way better, and it's better. If not way better, it's better than other films. There was nothing specified exactly.
Nobody said that.
All right. So somebody, second row. Where? Kidhar? All right. Okay. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So the statement was made here. Now this offense is not to the person; it's to the statement. I really want to clarify that. So this is what I want. One minute. There was one more part about the same thing.
Yeah, there are 5 questions.
So yeah, I don't believe she said that all films with female leads are better than the opposite. But perhaps what we were talking about is how we need a diversification in who is the lead in films. And there should be men and women. And there are too few films with powerful women or with female heroes or women we can look up to, female role models. That's what we're all lacking. I think we can agree on that. About the point of validation, again, I didn't say, perhaps you misheard me, that it's okay for a woman to seek validation. Although it is okay, vulnerability is fine.
Correct.
I just want to say, if there is a character who needs validation and she is vulnerable, that is fine. That character can exist. Sorry.
It's okay for everyone, exactly.
It's okay for everyone. What I would like to see is a growth of the character. In fact, in the narrative, there's a reason why that vulnerability exists, because her parents, their marriage, what she's seen growing up, the lack of support, etc. In that framework, her vulnerability, I understand it. I hope to not have it, but maybe I do. Who knows? And we all have these flaws. That's good. That's a good thing. What I want to see is an arc, and I want to see her coming into her own through her own agency, not through being passive. So that's two things. You talk about equality as well, and I will let you guys answer too, but I'm so eager to say some things. Yes?
Yeah, I think we all want to answer that.
This
Very problematic
so
point.
when we are talking of men and women, we have differences between men and women which are biological, physiological, right? Whatever changes are there, other than that, the power equations, the whole gender identity, or how we identify ourselves as men and women, or whatever it is, that is all socially determined. So while we are different in terms of biological, gender, the social constructs, makes us unequal. So when you talk of equality and inequality, we are talking of that, because access to resources, access to institutions, access to decision making, access to choice and agency, which we are talking. We are not saying that it is not that this character is bad or that character has to be perfect. No, we are not talking. Whenever you are projecting a girl or a woman, give her agency, give her a choice, and also show them as empowered, in the sense, when she said that it is a choice of a woman to be a housewife, I agree. It should be a choice of a man to be a house husband also. But does he have the choice? He doesn't have, right? Similarly, a woman, does she know that she's being a housewife because she wants to be a housewife, or because she was not given a choice? She never had the option. From 15 years, they told, learn to cook, learn to be a good wife, don't bring any bad name to us, and then, you have to get married. All these romantic things in the pictures, films, and everything say that her life ambition is to get a good husband, and then to take care of the children, produce good children, maintain an impeccable, what are the roles, what ideals that we are giving? So that is sometimes internalized. We don't even know that we have a choice of being something other than a housewife. So we say, I want to be a housewife. But did you ever explore not being a housewife? You haven't. So you feel, this is my choice. I want to get married. I'm a housewife. That's fine. So there is, are we really exercising a choice consciously, or is the choice so internalized that we feel comfortable making that choice? So that point, I want all of you to understand that. Recently, ASCII has done a study called Gender Next, which analyzed the gender portrayals in advertisement, and they have come with a C framework. It says every communication, every portrayal of woman should be show her as self-confident, assertive, and she should be empowered, and then she should be shown as allied. That is, you should show a social ecosystem that is actually supporting her. So rather than, lone fighter fighting against the system all the time. No, that's not the thing, because there are a lot of people who are supporting. How do you show a more nuanced and complex social reality? That is the challenge of a filmmaker.
And to add to that, you're not completely wrong when you say that there is no equality. There isn't, right? Which is precisely why we are having this discussion. But the objective of discussions is to lessen that gap. Because if we are not going to do this and we're just going to accept that ये तो ऐसा ही होने वाला है, तो we are never going to get there, right? I mean, if it is this much with every generation, the idea is to keep reducing it. I am hopeful that we'll hit utopia someday, like many generations down the line, but every generation needs to put in the work. And to get there, we need to have this. So yes, it's great to acknowledge there is no equality, but then we need to move towards getting there.
I feel that in your question, you perhaps confused equality and sameness. Yeah. We are not saying that men and women are the same, but we are saying that we are equal. In the same home, with the same opportunity, the same privilege, the same caste, the same economics, the son and the daughter should be equal, but they are not, and that is a reality. We're not saying we want to be same. So there's a difference.
We are happy to be women.
Absolutely, absolutely. We acknowledge that we are different, but we are equal. And I want to also comment on the ideal woman, the first question that you asked, that we've spent the evening discussing what the ideal women should do. I want to clarify very vehemently, there is no talk of any ideal woman over here. What we've been discussing is the ideal course of action that a character could have taken for their circumstance, for her circumstances, and how to create a framework within which she would be able to be active and not passive. Because there were passive characters in these films, and how can we rewrite them to be more active, to give them agency? That's been the conversation.
Link the whole issue of ideal to choice and rights.
Yes, I hope so. That is the idea.
I'm just going to add a little bit to that. I said that somewhere, I think by answering some question, that we make films, we make art to change the status quo, right? There's something that disturbs us about society. So this lack of equality in society is what is disturbing us. That is why we are studying this decoding women character, right? And if it doesn't disturb you, it's fine that you don't change it. But the fact that there is a certain inherent equality in gender, in a lot of other ways, today we're discussing gender, and that status quo needs to be challenged by art, by cinema, because you don't write films to show the society, oh, this is who you are. No, in American films, you'll see a black woman as a judge, which say 10 years ago or something, it would have been impossible to think of. But the filmmaker is trying to tell the society, accept this, right? So that's why we make our films more idealist than what it is, so that the society gets that impact, because it is that powerful, right?
I really love your optimism, and it's contagious.
I know, I'm being too optimist, but I'm just saying that.
I mean it in earnest. I'm not even kidding. I want to have to wrap up now, but I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much. And I hope that we all feel really empowered as writers, because this change that Shazia is talking about, we can do this. This is in our hands. I hope we go away with that thought. We're going to be having dinner outside. Let's chat aram se. Yeah.
Everyone, I want to thank all the panelists for this amazing discussion. I hope all of us have learned something. I hope all of us have learned to write flawed, real women and male characters with more empathy. I would like to invite Robin sir to give a token of gratitude to all our panelists. Yeah. I would also like to invite Dr. Sharda and to give a token of gratitude to all the panelists from Ladli. Yeah. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Zama Habib sir to felicitate the representatives from Ladli and UNFPA and UPG College. Also, could you ask one second. Zama sir, can I please invite you to have a vote of thanks? Yes.
Traditional vote of thanks. So, vote of thanks की कोई नहीं, आप सब ने enjoy किया, बहुत अच्छी बात है. और thank you सुहानी, आरती, शाजिया, यशना, निधि for this wonderful session. And you all went through what they had written and the team that has chosen them. And it was a great discussion. And लाडली के लिए मैं हमेशा शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ. हमारा बहुत लॉन्ग एसोसिएशन है. थैंक यू शारदा जी. और जैसा कि रॉबिंदा ने प्रॉमिस किया है कि हम हमेशा साथ हैं जब भी इस ख़ास तौर से इस सब्जेक्ट के लिए. यस, थैंक यू सो मच. थैंक यू UPG फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग दिस प्लेस एंड ऑल. एंड एक बेसिक सी जो इस पूरे डिस्कशन में एक बात हो रही थी, मैं एक राइटिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बात कर रहा हूँ, नॉट ये. सो ऑलवेज लुक फॉर द कैरेक्टर विद जर्नी, जो दे वर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि एक रिडीम हुआ कि नहीं, कुछ बदलाव. सो इट्स ऑलवेज द कैरेक्टर विद बीइंग फ्रॉम बीइंग टू बिकमिंग. दैट इफ दैट जर्नी इज देयर देन इट्स फाइन. कि अगर वो बहुत वल्नरेबल है या कुछ है एंड फाइनली शी डज समथिंग फॉर हर सेल्फ, दैट इज़ हर जर्नी. सो दैट्स नथिंग, उसमें कोई गलत नहीं है. वो एक ये लाइक यस समवन पॉइंटेड आउट एंड आज मेरे भी दिमाग में आया कि आयशा मेहरा के पास वो एक सीन होना चाहिए था विच आई नेवर रियलाइज्ड ऑनेस्टली. व्हाई? बिकॉज आई फेल्ट कि जोया और रीमा दे ट्राइड टू focus on that patriarchal system where this man had to change, this father had to change. कि तुम बार बार रणवीर पे दाव लगाए हुए हो and here is your daughter who is better than him for the business purpose and he realizes that. So for me it was the focus on the patriarchal system that she aimed at, not that character Aisha Mehra. So for me that character still works, Aisha Mehra का. बाकी एक जोया का जो पॉइंट आपने उठाया था किसी ने रांझना से, it was not Zoya's character's fault, it was writer's fault. It's as simple as that. It is a badly written character. सो आपके दिमाग में, लाइक यू राइटली सेड, कि वो दिमाग में है कि मुझे एक ऐसे आशिक की कहानी सुनानी है जिसके साथ क्या क्या हुआ, और वो लास्ट में चाहे जितना भी एक क्रिमिनलाइज कर दो उस लड़की को, सिर्फ इसको अच्छा बनाने के लिए. सो दैट वाज द प्रॉब्लम विद द राइटिंग, विद द इंटेंशन. सो व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग, ये आपकी जिम्मेदारी है कि आप अपने कैरेक्टर के साथ क्या बोलना चाह रहे हो, क्या कहना चाह रहे हो. Are you part of that system or you are against that system? That's where your character, you decide your character. Thank you so much.
I would like you to give certificates to all our winners. Okay. Karina Ramse. Amit Ranjan. Mahika Bheda. Harsh Salunke. Vanshika Bansal. Akshat Kochar. Vats Sharma. Arav Trivedi. Roshni Sanghani. Amey Keni. We would like to give a special thanks to Mr. Ashish Mehta, who's the HOD of BA Film, for his support to the initiative. And also I would like to invite all the winners on the dais, along with all the representatives from Lali for a photograph, and Dr. Anju Kapoor and Ashish Mehta as well for a photograph together. Can I invite all the winners here for a photograph with everyone?